For the past 2 years, I've uploaded a weekly YouTube video teaching Facebook ads for landscapers, documenting every aspect of the process that I can think of. So this week, I've decided to cherry pick the very best videos, organize them into sequential order, and edit them into a massive Facebook ads course for landscaping businesses. We'll cover everything from how to structure your campaigns and what to spend, what your ads should look like, how to scale up your campaigns, and everything in between. Plus, I've also included several case studies at the end of this video that are real-world examples for your own reference. If you enjoy this course and you would like me to make more, hit that subscribe button to show your support. And finally, if you'd like to apply to work with our marketing agency to handle all of your online advertising for you, my link is in the description below. Now, without further ado, enjoy the course. I'm just going to give you an honest breakdown of Facebook ads and the state of them as we're going into 2026. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly if they're the right fit for your company. So the first point of discussion is going to be cost per lead. Facebook ads ranks excellent on the cost per lead scale, and here's why. Typically, a cost per lead on Facebook, if you're using lead forms and you're doing things properly like how we teach on this channel, you're looking at a cost per lead of about $20 to $50. And compare that to, Google ads, which would be around $100 per lead. The cost per lead on Facebook ads is still very good and extremely scalable. There are definitely things that you can do that would allow you to get a lower cost per lead. And I would say that the only downside when it comes to cost per lead on Facebook ads is that there are different ways of setting up your campaign. So if you were to do something like messaging ads, your cost per lead would be a lot lower, but then the quality of the lead would be lower. Whereas if you do lead forms, you're typically in the range of, like I said, 20 to 50 bucks. And then if you run to a landing page, you're typically looking at something more comparable to Google, like around $100. So right now, though, I would say that Facebook ads is probably the cheapest place on the internet with paid advertising to get the lowest price for a cost per lead. So it is definitely very, very good if you're looking for a cheap cost per lead. The next ranking factor I'm going to put down here is going to be lead quality. So I'm going to rank the lead quality on Facebook as average. The reason for that is that it's mostly based off of an interruptive experience, right? If you think about how someone's scrolling through Facebook and they see an ad, they haven't necessarily asked to see that ad, and they're kind of just seeing it based off of their interests or their demographics or the way that we're targeting them. A lot of the lead quality depends also on the quality of your ads. So if your ads are pulling really well, and Facebook is going to like that, then the quality of those leads is definitely going to be a lot better, right? Whereas if your ads aren't really performing all that well, Facebook is going to start sending just crap to you with people who have fat thumbs or whatever like that, because it's not pulling any leads and Facebook wants to pull leads for you. So it's going to try, but it's just not going to be able to do that. So all of that to say, the lead quality definitely depends a lot on the type of creative that you're using and whether or not the ad is actually pulling leads. And, I would definitely say that the lead quality on Facebook is scalable, but with some reservation. So that's why I'm going to rate it as average. Number 3 on this ranking factor is going to be buyer intent. Typically on Facebook ads, there's not going to be a whole lot of buyer intent simply because of what I was talking about in the ranking factor of number 2, in the fact that it's more interruptive marketing. So what you're going to see on Facebook ads is you're going to definitely see a mix of, people who have high intent, but then also people who have very low intent. So in this case, I would definitely rank the buyer intent on Facebook as average or maybe even slightly below average because of the nature of Facebook. The 4th ranking factor is going to be scalability. There is no other platform on the internet, in my opinion, that's as scalable as Facebook ads. So I'm going to rank them as being excellent on this scale. And here's why. With Facebook ads, you can put your ads in front of people, whether or not they've asked to see that. And so the kind of like the downside of them is also their upside, because you can spend more on Facebook ads and those ads will just show to more and more people more often. And that's extremely powerful as well, because now you can target a very specific subset of people and show them ads over and over again, or varying degrees of ads or different types of ads. And this makes it extremely scalable, because the problem with Google or ChatGPT or SEO is these are all reliant on demand to be able to get leads coming through. But what happens if there's no demand? What if people aren't typing in search queries for your services? Then Facebook ads is amazing for that. This is why Facebook ads is so powerful for generating demand, because you can show your ads to people over and over again and start to educate them about what it is that you do. The fifth ranking factor that I have here is going to be speed to ROI. I'm going to rate Facebook ads here excellent on the ranking scale. And here's why. Is because Facebook ads is very quick to start spitting out qualified leads. We usually will see leads within 24 to 48 hours with our clients on the launch date. And if you are doing things properly and you have a solid sales system, which we'll talk about in a sec, you are definitely going to have a pretty fast track to seeing an ROI. Unlike things like SEO, which are going to take 4 to 6 months to start ranking and start getting more leads coming through, Facebook is going to be fairly instantaneous when you turn them on. And so that means that you can generate ROI and revenue from that campaign extremely quickly. And that's why we always recommend it for clients as one of the fastest ways to start scaling up their business, making some money from their marketing, and then take that marketing ROI and put it into other long-term investments like SEO or Google ads, which I would consider to be a little bit more long-term. So I'm going to rank Facebook ads as excellent in terms of generating ROI quickly. The sixth ranking factor that I have here is going to be overall management. I'm going to rank Facebook ads as average when it comes to management of the accounts. The reason for that is that as you scale the campaign, it's going to take a lot more management. I would say that for the average landscaper to manage Facebook ads themselves is probably not the best bet. That's why a lot of people hire our marketing company to take care of it for them, because you need to replenish your ads usually every 2 to 4 weeks in order to keep the cost per lead the same on Facebook. There's something called ad fatigue, where you should be starting off with running about 10 to 15 different ads. And so if you just set it and forget it, and you leave those ads running for a month or two, your cost per lead is going to start going up because people are tired of seeing the same ads over and over again. So we change out the ads usually every 2 to 4 weeks for our clients. And as we scale up their campaigns, it's even more often than that. So if you don't have a team of editors, if you don't really know how to split test things and understand and have the time to look at all the numbers and such, I would say that this is probably going to have a lot of management for you. And that's why typically people hire a marketing company to take care of it for them. The seventh and final ranking factor that I have here is going to be sales dependency. Sales dependency means how dependent on the overall sales process that you have in order to be successful. And so for Facebook ads, I would rank it around average or below average, because you need to have a pretty decent sales process in place. That's why we set our clients up with Go High Level, which is a custom CRM, and we give them some training on sales, because if you don't really have a real sales process and you're kind of just winging it, these types of leads for you might be a little bit difficult, especially compared to something like referrals. Facebook leads are going to be a little bit lower intent, like I was saying. So if you aren't very good at calling your leads quickly, if you aren't really organized at like keeping track of your leads, if you aren't really good at in-person sales, you don't really know how to pitch your services very well, then this might be a little bit of a learning curve for you.
It's so much easier when you already have these things in place before running an ad campaign, because you're going to see it's just going to get much better results, and you're just going to get a lot more return for the money that you're spending, right? So let's jump right into things here. I want to give you these 5 things. So number 1, the first thing is just making sure before you start running ads that you actually have a decent offer in place. What do I mean by this? Well, first off, what exactly is the service that you're focusing on and actually selling and marketing to people, right? A lot of landscapers will come to us and they say, yeah, I want to grow my business, etc. And we say, okay, like what kind of services do you want to focus on? and they're like maintenance, sodding, hardscaping, general landscaping, maybe maintenance as well, and this and that. And they just throw out like a lot of different things. And quite frankly, Facebook advertising, when you go super broad and wide with the services that you're offering like that, you're not going to have a clear message that's going to attract the right person into your business, right? So number one, first, when you're starting, before you ever run a Facebook ad, you should be really clear on like what niche of service do we really want to focus on and have some clear messaging based around that, right? If you don't have a clear niche, people are just going to be a little bit confused and your message is going to be a bit diluted, right? So once you have that service in place and you know what you want to focus on, the next thing too is just understanding kind of like the overall messaging, right? Like what are you going to be saying in the ad? What's kind of like the angle that you have? Something that I like to think about whenever we onboard any client or we're doing any kind of marketing campaign is what is the big idea? And this is something you may not have heard or maybe you have, but basically what I call the big idea is what is the big idea behind this campaign that's going to make someone actually want to reach out to you, right? Because every landscaper is doing like a 10% off discount type thing in their messaging. And that's like a very common thing to do, right? So what is so special about you that people are going to want to reach out? Maybe it doesn't even have to be like price related, which I actually don't recommend, by the way. But maybe there's something else, another angle in your messaging, in your offer that's going to be attractive. For example, maybe you're a family owned business, right? And you've been in business for a long time, 30 years, whatever. And in your messaging, you could really use that angle to show that, we're an intimate service. People love that, right? Or maybe you're a new company and you're the new guys on the block and you have something to prove, which is why you have this amazing guarantee. If no one's happy or anything like that, like you're gonna make them happy, 100% satisfaction. You have some like, you really stand behind your product, etc. So just making sure you have the big idea in the messaging so that you kind of understand like what are we saying to people that's going to make them want to actually reach out, right? And the last thing is having some kind of offer I would recommend. So whether it's a guarantee, I don't recommend doing discounts. I've done a lot of videos about discounts in the past. What I always recommend is offering value in exchange to be able to add value instead of discounting. So you can include some kind of like free maintenance package with your landscaping, maybe like a warranty that's included. Maybe you could offer some additional value. So if you're doing lawn care and stuff like that, you could offer like an additional treatment. A lot of our clients in lawn care, they'll do like a free grub treatment spray or something included. So these are some things of way you can add value. Maybe like I really like doing the warranty offers, etc. So before you run any kind of ad, what I would recommend is first just have your offer messaging, all that stuff in place so that it's very clear and validated first, because marketing just expands anything that you do to begin with, right? So if your offer is all janky and no one's really clear on it and it's not really that great of an offer, then it's just going to make advertising so much more difficult for you, right? Okay, so number 2, let's dive into the second thing to have in place. This is going to be your ad creative. What does this mean? Ad creative are the images or the videos or like the visual aspect of your ads. I think a lot of people aren't quite prepared for this part of advertising. They don't quite understand it. So I'm going to delineate this for you as specific as I can. So basically what we find is that right now on Facebook ads, using stuff like stock photos or just generic images that you can find on the internet are not effective anymore. Mostly because people have seen these images around and they actually know that they're stock photos or they know that they're not really authentic. And so what we find works the best right now are authentic pictures of you, your crew, the work you're doing, before and after pictures, and authentic videos as well. And this authenticity is going to really stand out and create a connection of trust with the people that you're trying to reach. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we're trying to do here with these ads, is create very quick trust. And the best way to do that, from my experience, is with really authentic video and pictures of yourself, leveraging your personal brand and using that in your ad creative to get attention, right? And a lot of people will underestimate how much they have to put into this. And so they'll launch an ad without having the right creatives in place, or maybe they'll get like one good creative and then they'll run that for a bit, exhaust that creative, and now they need to make more and they're just like not ready or prepared to do that, right? So before you run any Facebook ads, you should have a nice bank of creatives, pictures, videos, all this stuff to play with. You can test with, and we'll talk about testing in a sec, but you need to have those creatives in place to be able to run a real campaign on Facebook ads. And a lot of people underestimate that. By the way, guys, if you want a free training that I put together on the 3 different types of ad creatives that work the best for landscapers right now, I'll show you the examples. I'll even show you scripts and everything, exactly what it looks like. I'll put my number below. You can text me. Just text me landscaping creative to this number here, and I'll send you over an absolutely free training that will walk through exactly what this looks like. I have an internal document here at our company at Savant Marketing. I'll walk you through the document in this training and just show you exactly what we recommend so you know exactly what to do for creative. So text me at that number, text me creative, Facebook creative, something along that lines, and I'll send you over that training absolutely free. Okay, so let's go to the third thing that you need to have in place before running Facebook ads. This one I actually don't see talked a lot about. Is to first just have a good brand in place, right? So many contractors will turn on ads and they're like a brand new company that doesn't have any reviews, that doesn't have any like online presence, like no website, no nothing. And I'm not saying that you can't get results if you just have a Facebook page and you turn on ads. We have done it before and we've gotten great results doing that. But your results are going to be way better if you have a good brand in place first before turning on ads. What does a good brand look like? You should have at least like 20 Google reviews, I would say, online. When people search for you, they should see your Google reviews. You should have 25 stars at least on there. You should have a decent looking website, right? You should have a Facebook page that has like content on the Facebook page and pictures of your work and stuff so that people know that like this isn't a scam. This is some really basic stuff, but you'd be surprised how many landscapers come to us and they want to do this marketing campaign and they just don't have any kind of brand in place or anything. Just take a little bit of time, take a week and just kind of like start organizing things and make that brand look like a legitimate brand online. What is this going to do? When you're running your Facebook ads, people aren't just existing in a funnel, so to speak, where people are like only just going in for that quote on Facebook. A lot of people are going to see the ad and then they're going to Google the name of your company and like do some homework and then come back to that ad later. So the best thing that you can do is make sure that when they Google the name of your company, that you engineer all of those things to really build trust and basically position yourself as being the company that they would want to work with, right? And so definitely something I recommend. This is going to help you get way better results. We see it all the time when companies have great brands and then we just turn on ads for them. There's already like great momentum there, right? And when they Google the name of the company, then they see all this great stuff. It's just going to help sell you so much easier. So again, I'm not saying that you can't do it without the brand, but it's going to help you a lot. So I definitely recommend it. All right, this one is an interesting one. And so before you start running any ads on Facebook, you need to commit to the idea of testing. What does this mean? Sometimes we get clients where they put together like a video or something like that and they send it over to us and it's literally like one ad and we've asked them for like multiple different creatives and stuff and they'll say like, yeah, run that. And what you need to understand before you turn on any ads for a Facebook ads campaign is that the testing is going to be constant. Like this is a weekly thing. There's like some kind of like weird rumor out there that like Facebook ads could be set it and forget it. Maybe if you want your cost per lead to be like $200 or something like that. So if you want high cost per lead, then yeah, set it, forget it. But this is something that if you want to continually push out great performance, then you need to consistently be testing new things, right? And so some people aren't prepared for that, especially like if the budget that you have is a larger budget, like I would say over 5,000 a month in ad spend on Facebook ads, you need to be prepared to constantly be testing at least every like 2 weeks minimum, because the ad platform is going to serve your ads to that audience a lot, and it's going to exhaust the ads faster and faster. So you need a lot of creatives to experiment with, and you need to be experimenting, period, right? And so you need to be prepared for that level of experimentation on a weekly basis, doing new stuff. If you're not prepared for it, you're just going to waste a whole lot of money. You're not going to be able to keep up with the testing, and then your cost per lead is going to rise, and you're going to say, oh, Facebook ads don't work. It's because you're not testing enough. So you need to commit to testing, and you need to be ready to take on that level of like labor intensive activity, right? So that's a big one that I see a lot of people neglect. So keeping that in mind too. All right, now the last one, the fifth one here. This one's a big one too. Appointment setting. It's kind of hard to write that low. Appointment setting. Something that I've noticed is that sometimes contractors will turn on Facebook ads and they're just not prepared at all for the actual lead flow that's coming in. They don't have a real system for actually capturing leads, following up with those leads. They don't have a dedicated appointment setter, or they don't have any time themselves that they can allocate to actually calling up the leads and following up with them adequately. And this is going to really hurt your campaign if you're not prepared for that. And that's why before we work with someone, we give them access to a CRM. We train them up on the appointment setting. We really try and set expectations for how much time is going to be allocated to appointment setting, because nothing will hurt your campaign more than turning it on, getting a bunch of leads, which is like all this opportunity, and then you just don't have any time to actually call them up and like book those appointments and actually dedicate the time for it, right? So you need to be prepared for the amount of labor that's going to be involved with appointment setting, follow up, and have the right sales systems in place to follow up with these leads and reach out to them quickly, right? Because you can't just let these leads sit. If you're doing Facebook ads, they need to be reached very quickly, and that's just going to make your results much, much better.
And so my goal in this video here is I want to illuminate basically how you can set yourself up for success by getting the numbers right off of the bat. So then the odds are stacked in your favor. And what we're going to do is I have several different variables here that I'm going to break down what they mean and kind of what to look for. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a real example of when the odds are stacked in your favor and then when they are not stacked into your favor. So that by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to look at your own campaigns before starting one, and you'll know if this actually makes sense or not, and if the math is actually mathing. So let's jump right into things here. So the first thing is coming up with your goal. So before you do any marketing campaign, you should have a good understanding of what is our goal, right? And this should be a monetary goal. A lot of landscapers will have a hard time though of coming up with like, how much do you want to add per month with this campaign? Because it's kind of one of those questions where you want to say like, well, I want to add as much as possible, but there is also going to be a cost to that growth, right? So it's not like you can add 100K to your business by spending only $500 a month. It just doesn't work that way, right? So you want to come up with a realistic goal that you can actually handle in your capacity, but also that you're willing to spend the money for. And I'll show you in a sec of like what it will cost and how you do that. But first things first is come up with a specific goal in added revenue that you're looking for. If you can't do added revenue and you can only think more operationally, then ask yourself, how many more jobs per month would I be able to take on at capacity before I have to hire someone or anything like that? So that's the first thing, is coming up with your goal. Very, very important. The second thing is going to be coming up with what is your average order value. What is the average ticket price of the job that you're typically taking on? Is the average job you're doing only $1,000 and maybe it's a really simple job that you're doing, something super small? Or is it $100,000? Is it a complete backyard makeover, a new pool, etc., these kind of things? this is going to be very important for you to put a number on what your average order value is. I know that things are always, it depends, right? Based off of the project, the scope, and the client, but you want to get an average number in there so that you can start making some predictions on the math. Now, this is going to also dictate, like, are you going to be able to profit on the front end of the campaign, or is it going to be more of a lifetime value play? Because let's say, for example, if you're doing turf care or lawn treatments, then maybe your average order value for a contract for the year is only going to be like $1,500, but you also have to account for the lifetime value of that. So let's say they stay for 4 years, then you would do $1,500 times 4 to be able to understand what they're worth to you, right? All right, so next, what you want to consider is now how many jobs is it going to take to actually hit your goal? So all you do is take your goal, figure out the average order value, and then reverse, okay, how many jobs would I need to add per month to hit that goal, assuming the average order value is a value of X, right? So the next step here is going to be the number of appointments. So this is where the 50-30 rule is going to start coming in. So from my experience, you are going to close about 30% of your appointments into actual jobs. If you're closing less than 30% for your jobs, then that means that you're probably emailing over estimates or you need to take some sales training. To calculate the number of appointments that you're going to need to hit the number of jobs that you need, you are going to take the number of jobs and divide it by 0.30, 30%, right? And that is going to give you a number of appointments that you need to hit that number of jobs, right? And so once you have that number of appointments, then what you are going to do is double that number of appointments. And that is going to give you the number of leads that you need, because 50% of your leads are going to book in for an appointment, and then 30% of those appointments are going to close into a job. So just because you generate 30 leads doesn't mean 30 appointments. It means 15 appointments. So obviously the number of appointments and number of leads you get is extremely important, because if you don't have enough leads, you're not going to get enough appointments. And if you don't have enough appointments, you're not going to get enough jobs. But what's more important than all of those is the cost per lead that you're coming in at. Because let's say that you're getting leads for very expensive, which on Facebook ads, I would say would be like $100 plus per lead. Typically on Facebook ads, if you're using lead forms, we would recommend to look for $20 to $50 leads. $50 is on the high side, $20, you're doing great. Anything below $20, that's amazing, right? We see that sometimes, but I would say generally 20 to 50 bucks. If you're coming in at $50 leads, that is going to get you XYZ amount of leads, right? So like you need the gasoline in the tank to be able to give you enough leads, to give you enough appointments, to give you enough jobs, and to make all of this happen. So sometimes you can actually shoot yourself in the foot by doing too low of a budget. And then now you're not getting enough leads and momentum to be able to actually hit your goal. So it's actually losing you money to do a lower budget when you could have made more money to just commit and do a higher budget. So let's step into giving like a real life scenario here, because I think this is really going to illustrate it for you. So let's say that your goal for a marketing campaign is to add 50K a month, right? And then let's say that your average order value is coming in at $10,000. So that would be 5 jobs that you would need to be able to hit 50K, right? Because each one is 10,000. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the number 5 and we're going to divide it by 0.30, right? And that is going to give us the number of appointments that we need, which in this case is about 17 appointments. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that 17 appointments and we're going to double it. And that is going to give us around 33 leads that we need, right? Now for the cost per lead, I said a good cost per lead would be 20 to 50 bucks. So let's say, just for the purpose of this example, we come in on the high side to be conservative, and we come in at $50 leads, right? That would mean that to be able to make all of this math make sense, then our budget would need to be $1,650, right? Because all I'm doing is I'm taking $50 times 33 leads. So that's $1,650 a month. This is how I can make sure that the math would actually make sense. Now, this is like the absolute minimum baseline. So if your goal was something similar to this, I would recommend to add some cushion in this budget, because let's say for whatever example, that cost per lead went up, right? So let's say this cost per lead went up to $100. Well, now you're not going to hit your 5 jobs. So you're not going to hit your goal, and the campaign may or may not be profitable depending on your margins, right? So I personally always like to put a little bit of a cushion in the budget. So in this case, I would personally recommend like round it up to $2,000 just to be safe, right? And so some of the variables that are important when you're looking at this to make a successful marketing campaign are going to be the budget, the cost per lead. This is fully up to the marketing company to make sure that that cost per lead is as low as possible. But what is in your control is going to be the average order value, right? Because let's say that you start getting leads and deals, but you start dropping your prices for whatever reason. Now you're selling them for $5,000 and not $10,000. Now the campaign's not going to be profitable, right? All of this math is going to change. And so I really like using this system. I call it the 50-30 rule. In my opinion, it's very accurate. It's going to definitely help you out. This is the type of stuff that your marketing company should be looking at before turning on a campaign, because it's easy to just say like, oh, let's throw $1,000 and just see what happens. But you need to make sure that the math actually makes sense for your campaign so you can be successful. So the first thing that is important if you're going to start pursuing high-end projects, $25,000 to $100,000 or more, is going to be the name of your business. Now, this is very underrated, but it does make a big difference, and we work with clients through this all the time. So for example, if the name of your business is called something like Example Contracting or Example Lawn and Maintenance, right? These types of business names are going to typically signal to prospects and buyers that you are doing smaller jobs or you're doing lower ticket work, right? And these types of clients that are going to be looking for someone to hire to do a 6-figure backyard makeover or oasis, they're typically going to be looking for a business that can signal that they have high-end project capability. And it starts with the name, to be honest with you. So I would recommend to look at your business name and do a little bit of an audit and to seriously consider if it does sound like a high-end business name. Some words that typically are associated with being more high-end or doing these bigger projects is going to be design and build, or saying the word like outdoor living in it, etc. You should also have a very niche sounding name. So you don't want to use a more generic name like Example Contracting or Example Construction. Those are okay, but I would definitely recommend to use a more niche sounding name in your business. That is going to make a big difference in terms of what's called your positioning in the market, because if your name sounds similar to all of these lower ticket companies that are doing grass cutting or something else like that, it's going to be very difficult for you to build off of that. So number one is getting the name right. Number two is getting the messaging for your business right. A lot of landscapers, when they're trying to start attracting higher end jobs, they forget that these types of prospects are going to be looking at your online marketing. And if the messaging of what you're saying and then the quote that you present them with doesn't match up, they're never going to move forward with you, and they probably won't reach out to you to begin with. And so it's really important that the messaging is congruent with this type of work. And it starts with focusing more on selling outcomes instead of selling the service. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, basically, a lot of landscapers that are doing lower end type of work, they'll be talking about what it is they're doing. So, hey, we're going to install some pavers for you. We're going to do some walkways, or we're going to install a pool, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the businesses that are selling higher end projects, they're selling a transformation. They're selling a vision to the prospect. And so you'll notice that all of their messaging is always going to be talking not about the actual service itself, but the outcome and what they're going to get from investing in that service. So some examples would be like, enjoy your backyard living space, spend time with the kids and family, entertain and have a beautiful backyard where people can relax, extend your living space, all of these kind of like narratives. And the purpose of this is because nobody's buying $100,000 backyard transformation on logic alone. It's a very emotional decision. And so a lot of your messaging and your marketing does need to shift from being about the service to being about the outcome and what they're going to get on the other side of investing in something like this. The other thing to consider is to remove all mentions of affordability, price, discounts in all of your online marketing. So if you mention anything about affordability or you're putting out like coupon offers or any of these things, that is going to be a red flag to anybody who is looking to invest in a higher end landscaper that like, hey, this is not the type of company that I want to work with. So you want to remove anything that's going to mention price or affordability or anything like that. That is going to be a red flag to someone who's looking to invest in a quality service. The last thing that you want to consider when it comes to messaging is the offers that you're putting out there to the marketplace. Just because you're high end and you're going after high end positioning in the marketplace doesn't mean that you can't make any cool marketing offers. And when I say offers, a lot of people associate that with like price discounts and such. But because we're going after a higher end market, we're also going to have higher end offers that are going to appeal to that market. So 2 offers right off the bat that are going to help you to attract that type of clientele is number 1, doing a design consultation. We personally recommend to give these away for free included with the project. And I would value it at something higher end where it's like maybe $1,500 value or more. And you say, hey, this is included for free with the project. And we're going to dive into everything. It could be a 3D rendering. It could be whatever you want it to be. But doing a free design consultation is definitely going to attract a higher caliber, more sophisticated type of prospect because the job is actually going to warrant having a design, which indicates that it's not going to be small and it's going to be more intricate, right? The other type of offer that you can do is really leaning on an incredible warranty. So you can say, hey, everyone who works with us, they get X amount of years of labor warranty, you're covered. We have this super awesome guarantee where if anything ever goes wrong, we're going to be right there to help you out. People who are investing in a big project like that, they want to know that they're covered and that, if anything ever goes wrong, then you're going to be there to help them out. So really leaning on measurable quality, I call it, where you're putting a guarantee or a number of years of warranty on the specific work, that's going to help you out a lot. So moving on from messaging, let's talk about something I call branding assets. Now, this is extremely important and, it might seem a little bit like fake it till you make it, but having really great branding does make a difference. And I've seen this happen for clients and also for our agency when I started to invest a little bit more in branding as well. And so the first place that I would start for your brand is taking a really honest look at your logo. I would definitely recommend to compare it to some higher end brands that are in your local market and just ask yourself like, hey, is this in alignment with this type of look and feel that I'm going for the high end market? Some things to consider when you're looking at logos as well is, does this logo look good, big and small? Because a lot of times people will more so just create something like a graphic and not an actual logo, right? So, something to consider for sure, because as you are growing your business, you're going to want that logo to look good, very small on like a shirt or on merchandise, but you also want it to look good big when it's blown up and put on a truck or something like that. The next thing too, to take a really serious look at and to invest in is going to be your website. Your website should be fast loading. It should look very clean and professional, and it should not look like a template or a free Wix website or anything like that. You want to look like you've invested in your website. This means having plenty of great content on there, lots of original pictures and video. You don't want any stock footage on there. Honestly, I wouldn't use any AI content as well on there. Very minimal if you do. And I would invest in like a real photographer or videographer to take some high-end visuals for the website. That's really going to help you stand out. This is going to be the central hub of your entire online marketing presence. And so when people visit your site, it does need to convey the messaging that we were just talking about, but also convey that like you've put some money and time into this website and it's something that is going to reflect your quality of work, right? Something else to consider too is having really consistent colors and overall vibe of your brand across the internet. So I would do an audit and just look like, do you have an old logo on this website where it's not on this one? Or is your branding inconsistent at all? You know, maybe you were using some colors and you switched it up. Get really consistent with the branding. I would recommend for the colors to actually create like a color brand guide where you have the specific code of the color that you can use on all your merch and everything that you're using. And that brings us to talking about merch and wrap trucks and such. I would definitely recommend to get some hats and shirts made once you have your logo and everything dialed in, and give that to your team members. This is going to really convey that professional high-end look. And if you could afford it, I would definitely wrap a truck or two. This is going to help you when you're showing up for those estimates. You're looking professional, you have a hat, professional shirt, maybe a polo shirt with your logo on it, clipboard, and you have a wrap truck. You're looking like a very professional service provider. And this is going to help you a lot when you're trying to land those deals, but also if people are seeing your trucks around and stuff, your crew working, it's going to be a signal to them that you're a higher end brand. Now, number 4 is, this brings us to something I call proof assets. So up until this point now, you are looking professional, you're talking to the right clientele, but you are also going to need to actually back up a lot of these claims, because right now you're signaling that, hey, we're a high-end brand. And a lot of landscapers will just stop there. But that's not going to be convincing enough for the type of prospects that we're going to want to attract. And this is where we're going to have to put in the real work to actually get some proof together to show that, hey, we actually know what we're doing. So number 1 is you want to get a portfolio together of pictures and videos that are going to reflect the type of jobs that you want to attract more of. So on your website and all your marketing, you should be showing pictures and videos of the type of jobs that you are actually looking to attract. Now, when I say this, a lot of landscapers will say, well, Matt, it's like the chicken and the egg. I don't have those types of projects right now, so how am I able to show them to attract them? And you got to do what you got to do. So sometimes, you know, you're presented with an opportunity where maybe it's the type of project you're looking for that's really going to build up your portfolio, but maybe you're going to have to give that homeowner a bit of a deal to land that job. Or whatever it is. Maybe you're going to have to do it on your own backyard, you know, to be able to invest a little bit of money into the materials and the labor to be able to do it to your backyard so you can turn that into your portfolio to show that, hey, I know what I'm doing. So having a real portfolio of the type of work is super, super important, because no one's going to believe you if you're just saying, hey, we do high-end stuff. They want to see it. The other thing too is having really great reviews. When a homeowner is investing 6 figures into a backyard project or whatever they're investing, they want to know that they're working with the best company. And one of the easiest ways to prove that is by having a lot of really great reviews. So I would recommend to take your Google business reviews extremely seriously and start asking your clients for reviews. And I would start asking clients for these higher end projects to post a picture of the job with a review in the review that they leave. So then other people who are researching you can actually see the pictures and the reviews, and it's like, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for. So based off of this review, I know that he can do it for me as well, right? So that is going to help you out a ton. Now adding garnish to the plate here, you want to start taking pictures and videos of like you at trade shows. You want to start potentially trying to get on the news if you can. This is what I call mainstream proof, where you're showing like, hey, we went to a trade show. People know that that costs money, like $5,000 or $10,000 at least to get a booth and set it all up. So showing proof that you have visibility at a trade show, or let's say that you contact your local news network and you do like a food drive or something as a company to give back to the community. Just being on the news like that is going to increase proof of your authority, right? So all of these little things are just stacking up. And eventually people are going to be like, well, he looks like a duck, he walks like a duck, he quacks like a duck, he's a duck. You know what I'm saying? Now, once you have all that proof in place, something else to consider is the price congruency. Now, what I mean by this is that if you're going to try and land higher end jobs, you need to make sure that you're not seriously underbidding a whole lot of other guys who've been in this like kind of industry for a long time and they know how to price things properly. So if you're coming from doing lower end work and you're trying to start inching up what you're charging, I would definitely do some research and get some quotes of like, what are the high end companies in my area actually charging for something like this? Because the last thing you would want to happen is for a homeowner to get 3 quotes from 2 high end companies and you're trying to kind of put your foot in the door there and you come in like way less. It is going to be a bit of a red flag for them. So you don't want to come in super high when you shouldn't be or come in super low. You want to be just right. So making sure that your prices are actually congruent with everything else that they're getting in the industry, this is going to help you a lot with building your credibility. It's going to be more believable for them. You don't want to scare these types of prospects away. So the next thing that I want to mention too is starting to build up educational content. This is going to be huge for you if you're trying to start landing higher end projects. The landscaper that is out there educating the public about what this type of stuff costs, how to do this, like what type of work is involved in it, how it works, what the process looks like. If you could do a couple blogs on your website, answering any FAQs, that is going to be super, super valuable because it's going to position you as being the educator, as being the authority in the marketplace when many other landscapers aren't taking the time to do that. And then lastly is just omnipresence of your marketing. You're going to want to be marketing everywhere because if you're doing everything that I talked about here, and then you're also on Facebook ads, you're on Google ads, you're popping up on Google Organic, you have a great social media presence, they're seeing you at the trade shows, they're seeing your truck on the road, they're seeing your yard sign everywhere. This is what is really going to start jacking up the demand for what it is that you do. And now you can start charging more because you have a lot more leads coming through. You can kind of cherry pick the type of jobs that you want. So having omnipresence in your marketing is going to help your lead flow, but also it's going to jack up the demand of everyone in your local area. And they're going to be like, I see this company everywhere. They must be good.
And in this video, we're going to talk all about offers for your Facebook ads and how you can use offers to stand out from the crowd, position yourself as a better, higher end company, and ultimately attract the type of customers that you want into your business. You know, offers are one of the most important things to be able to get your business to the next level. And many of the largest brands in the world have been founded off of or accelerated with one great offer. For example, Domino's back in the day implemented a speed offer where they said, hey, we'll deliver your pizza to you in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. Or think about even Amazon today, Amazon Prime. It's such a no-brainer offer that people can't help but say yes to it, and that has exploded the growth of Amazon. So in this video, like I said, we're gonna go through offers, but before we go into these 5 offers here, I wanna just address some common misconceptions and things that a lot of contractors don't quite understand when we're talking about offers. So first things first is that doing a free estimate is not an offer, right? Sometimes when we're onboarding a client and we say, hey, we recommend doing some offers, here's what we recommend, they'll be like, oh, I'm already doing an offer, I'm doing a free estimate. That is not an offer. A free estimate is simply just part of the sales process, and I would say at this point it's pretty much standard practice to offer a free estimate, especially if you're trying to maximize lead flow so that you get the most amount of people into your pipeline and then you optimize the back end so you get the most amount of sales. Free estimate is a given. Like, that is not an offer. That's something that we want to offer regardless. Now, what I'm going to talk about here in a sec are things that you can add on to that free estimate to bring more value, but a free estimate is not an offer. And before we go into these 5 different things here, I just want to talk about, why offers are so important. Number 1 is that offers are going to help you stand out from the crowd. You know, like I talked about earlier in this video, you can have the best pictures and videos for your ads, you can have the best copy, the best targeting, etc. But really what's going to help you stand out is having a fantastic offer. So it's a very simple and easy way to stand out from all these other landscapers who are all just saying the same thing. If you come in with a really powerful offer, then you're going to really stand out and it's going to get you cheaper leads that way. Second is that having a better offer is going to attract better clients for you. If you think about it, marketing is a lot like catching fish. And the bait that we put out there is going to catch a different type of client, right? So the type of offers that you put out there will actually attract different types of clients. Let's talk about discounts for a second here. A lot of contractors will just go right into discounts when we talk about offers, you know? You may have done this before for your own business where you offer 10% off or something in a Facebook ad or a flyer or whatever. And you know, on like the front end of this seems like a good idea to run discounts. However, from my experience and just doing this for many years, I've noticed there's a couple trends and patterns when it comes to offering discounts as offers that I want to warn you about. So basically, number one is when you offer discounts for your ads, first off, it's just very generic, right? Every contractor is offering discounts, and most of the time, they're all very similar, 5%, 10%, 15%. And a lot of the times, you know, contractors aren't actually even offering that discount, and homeowners are starting to figure that out. They know that you're just adding that extra little margin on top so that it feels like they're getting a discount, right? And so from my experience, discounts don't even really help you stand out that much. But on top of that, think about who we're attracting in our marketing if we're putting out discounts, right? The most price sensitive people are looking for the cheapest price. And so if you come out in your ads and you say, hey, we're offering 25% off. I saw this the other day for a hardscaping contractor who's running ads saying, you know, 25% off this summer for our services. And he's going to get a lot of leads that way. He's going to get a lot of engagement. But the type of person that you're going to bring into your business by running offers like that, you're not going to like those people. These are going to be the cheapest people you're going to deal with. These are the type of people who are going to ask for refunds and give you a huge headache. And oftentimes, they're not even going to be the type of projects you really want to be taking on anyway. But thirdly, the third reason why you don't want to offer discounts, and in my opinion, this is one of the bigger reasons, is that it's damaging your brand. And here's why, is that if you are running discounts for your business, and you're running those discounts in your ads indefinitely, which means that there's no end date to that discount and there's no reason for that discount, then people are going to see that your brand is running discounts indefinitely. Now, a lot of marketers will run discounts for you. Maybe you've hired a marketer in the past and the first thing that they did was, oh, we're going to run a 10% off discount in the ads. From my experience, this is going to get you a lot of leads in the beginning, but long term, it's going to damage your brand because people are going to start associating you with these discounts, and now your brand is associated with being a lower end service. For a lot of our clients, our goal is to raise your brand authority, to raise up your prices, and the only way to do that is by offering really good offers. So let's jump into these offers here. By the way, guys, for this video, before we get started, I'm offering a free offer audit. So if you text me at my number below, just text me offer audit with a description of your business and the offer that you currently have and some ideas. I'm going to text you back, it's me personally, and I'll share my honest thoughts with you about your offer and how you could take it to the next level. So text me at that number and say offer audit with a little bit of details about your business and your current offer, and I'll share with you my honest opinion. All right, so jump right into things here. So number one of my favorite offers for landscapers is offering a free design consultation. Let me break it down for you. So basically, a lot of landscapers and contractors are already offering some kind of design consultation included with the service, right? And you know, a lot of the times that design is actually extremely valuable. Typically, it'll have a value of $1,000 or at least $500. Just spending your time and being able to help that homeowner really paint a picture of what that project's going to look like. And from my experience, this is a fantastic offer to do on the front end for marketing. Here's how you word it, is you say, hey, we're offering a free design consultation included with your job of $1,000 value. And what this design consultation is going to do is it is going to get people's attention, but it's going to get the right people's attention. People who are looking to get a nice job done that maybe is a little bit more intricate. Maybe it requires a little bit more thought. These are the type of clients that you want to start attracting because these are the people who really value more intricate designs, people who are going to be a little bit of a higher ticket job, right? And on your end, you're actually offering more value to them because you're helping them to visualize what this project is going to look like. So not only on the front end is it going to attract better quality leads, but on the sales end, it's going to help convert more leads. And typically it's going to bump up the average order value because they're able to actually visualize what the project looks like. If you think about it, until they can really visualize it, then there's no real emotional connection. But if you can take a picture of their backyard and use AI or use some kind of tool to mock up a design consultation and really show what the possibilities are, I guarantee you they're going to be willing to spend the extra 10 grand or the extra 20 grand or whatever their budget is to be able to make that vision a reality. So offering a free design consultation included is extremely powerful offer. Highly, highly recommend this one. Number 2 is offering an extended warranty. Many of you are probably offering a warranty right now in your business, but you're not actually advertising it. A lot of contractors will have like a 1-year warranty or something like that. But if you can really put your money where your mouth is and offer a longevity offer, that's what I call it, where you stand behind a really powerful warranty, whether it's a lifetime warranty if you're doing hardscaping, or let's say that you are doing just plant installation and, softscaping, that kind of stuff. Maybe you put a warranty on, hey, if you follow everything that we recommend here, you water it this much and you do this, you do that, we're willing to put a guarantee, a warranty on that plant material for X amount of time. That is going to work really well as an offer because, again, you're going to attract the right type of people who are willing to spend a little bit more to get a great investment. And also is that it's going to start positioning you in a way that you can charge a little bit more because you're really putting your money where your mouth is. So offers based around warranty are very powerful and I would recommend it. And I would definitely recommend to not be too stingy with the warranty. Do something that you can do within the realm of possibility. Obviously, you don't want to put yourself in a tight spot, but the better the warranty, then it is going to build up a lot of certainty in investing with your business, right? And so people are going to feel really comfortable. So you will get a lot more leads and they're going to be really good leads because people are going to value that warranty. All right, let's talk about the third offer that I would recommend. This is what I call the value add offer. These are some of my favorite offers to do because they're creative and oftentimes homeowners haven't seen these types of offers before. So it is going to get a lot of attention. And if you pull it off really well, then you can be in for a huge success for your campaign. Let me give you an example. So we have a pool and spa contractor that's a client of ours, and they do luxury pool installations and like spa surroundings and like interlock around, basically like a backyard oasis. But he also owns a pool cleaning company as well. And so when we were brainstorming for an offer of what we could do as a value add to really entice people to get like these $100,000 backyard oases, he was like, well, I have a pool cleaning company. What if we throw in 1 year of free cleaning with the pool when someone orders that backyard oasis? That is something that is a super powerful offer because I think the value for that was like $1,500. So, hey, we're offering a free pool cleaning when you get the pool done and built with us. It's a $1,500 value. So for him, he has control over that because, he owns the company. So he is just doing it at cost. But the amount of value that that's bringing to a potential homeowner, like that is going to be very, very attractive, right? Another example of doing a value add is, let's say that you are doing like any kind of landscaping work, like whether it's softscaping or hardscape or anything. You could even throw in like a maintenance package for free for maybe 6 months maintenance at no cost when they do like a certain size of job, right? So these are some really cool value add type offers that you can do. So instead of discounting, you're just adding in extra value, which typically is going to have a lot more perceived value on the homeowner's end than what it actually costs you. So this gives you some leverage, and it's going to allow you to really stand out from people and really brand yourself as being a company that's like going above and beyond. So super, super cool strategy there. And oftentimes, you can kind of work in the cost of like what it would cost you within the quote of the actual job that you're doing there, because you're getting it at cost, like I said. So very powerful strategy, really, really good offer that I would highly, highly recommend. All right, let's look at number 4 now, is speed. This is a very powerful offer. Remember I was talking about Domino's, how they said, oh, we'll get it to you in 30 minutes or it's free. You can do like very, very similar things in your business because people value speed. People are willing to pay more for speed. And oftentimes in the sales process, speed, collapsing the amount of time from you meeting them to giving an estimate to actually closing the deal, if you can collapse that time and make it really easy for them to say yes, it's going to help your sales as well. So what I recommend for the speed offer is doing a same day estimate if you can. If you could do, some people get a little weird when I say like the same day estimate, the wording in that, next day estimate, 24-hour estimate, however you want to word it, but doing a speed offer on your estimate, this is going to require you obviously to know your numbers pretty well. But if you can get there, then this is going to be a super powerful offer. It's going to get you more leads. People are going to want to reach out to you to get that estimate, but also it's going to help you on the sales end as well, because like I said, the faster that you can deliver that estimate, it's going to collapse the amount of time in that sales process, and that's going to get you a lot more sales coming through. So speed offers, very, very powerful. You could even do a speed offer on the amount of time that you're going to take for actually doing the project. So we have a client where, a big pain point that he was saying for his specific niche is that it takes so long and a lot of people just get frustrated. So his offer is, hey, we guarantee that it's going to be done, the project, within this window of time that we promise. And every day that we're late on delivering on the end date of that, we're going to pay you X amount. So he's kind of putting his money where his mouth is on that, basically guaranteeing a window of time that the project is going to be finished in. So very cool angle on the speed offer. And that kind of brings us to guarantees, which is a little bit about what I was just talking about with the speed offer there. So guarantees are super powerful as well as an offer. So the only thing here though is that you need to make the guarantee actually really cool. So like I said, finished on time, or for every day that we're late, you're going to receive a check for XYZ amount. That's something you could do. So it's kind of related to speed there. But you could also do something related to the outcome of like the actual job, right? So, hey, if you're not completely blown away by, the backyard oasis that we do for you, and you can make it kind of cute, right? Like you can say like, hey, if your jaw doesn't drop to the floor, then we'll keep working for you and get it done the way you want it to, like at no additional cost or something like that. Like you can come up with a lot of really cool, kind of cheeky guarantees that are basically showing more confidence on your end of how confident you are that you can get them the result and how happy they're going to be with it, etc. And really, that's going to help you to stand out. And homeowners are going to love that. Like the more that you can go into that guarantee and really step into that. I know some clients that say, oh, we have a triple ironclad guarantee, is that, it's guaranteed for, 10 years, the installation. If there's ever any problem within that, you give us a ring. We're going to be over there like first thing, help you out there and blah, 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 So you can come up with a really cool name for your guarantee and basically take all the risk off of them and just really make it sound like, hey, we're here for you. If anything ever happens, you're going to be completely happy, yada, yada, yada. So the guarantees, I call them irresistible guarantees, super, super powerful.
We've tested hundreds of different campaigns, and every single time, these are the top 3 creatives that come up consistently that perform for landscaping businesses. And so by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what type of content to use in your Facebook ads to get the best results. Content type number one are before and after pictures. Here's why before and after pictures work so well for landscaping businesses. First off is they simply show a transformation. Homeowners want to see, do you actually know what you're doing? And can you bring my backyard through a transformation as well? And so before and after pictures do a really great job of showing proof that you actually know what you're doing, but they tell a visual story of the type of transformations that you can bring people's homes through as well. So what makes a good before and after picture? Well, first off, you want to make sure that you actually take the picture in the same spot that you took the before picture and the same spot you took the after picture. There needs to be this effect where when someone sees the before and the after, it's in the same exact spot so that their brain doesn't have to do the work of figuring out a different angle that you took the picture from. Additionally, you want the lighting to be the same. We see this a lot too, where the after picture will have this big shadow on it and the before picture will be all bright and lit up. That takes away from the wow factor of the transformation. We want to make sure that that after photo is going to look not only better from a technical standpoint of what you did, but visually the lighting and the weather and all these things need to also be ideally looking better than the before picture. And lastly, what makes a great before and after photo is simply showing the type of work that you actually want to attract. The type of content that you're going to show in your ads are typically the type of jobs that you're going to attract. So if you really want, $100,000 backyard oases and outdoor living projects with outdoor kitchens, a pool and a patio, etc., then you should be showing before and after pictures of that type of work. You wouldn't be showing smaller jobs that are 5,000, 10,000 if you're looking to attract jobs that are 6 figures plus. So where do before and after pictures come into play when it comes to your ads? Well, mostly when it comes to static images. The other type of format you can use are carousels, where you have multiple different before and after pictures. This is going to be the best use of your before and after pictures on your ads, is showing them in a static format with some headlines on them or some really brief text that would just say before and after and, outdoor living project, making it really obvious. And then, like I said, the carousels, you could have multiple, maybe 3 or 4 of those before and after pictures to really drive home the fact of the type of work that you do, showing multiple different projects in one ad. Some common mistakes when it comes to before and after pictures are, number one is making it look too polished. There is such a thing as taking too good of before and after pictures, whether you've hired a professional photographer or whatever. You do want it to still look believable that this actually was done by you and they're not just a stock photo or something. So I actually do recommend to take your before and after pictures, ideally with a very good phone that has an HD camera on it, iPhone, Samsung, whatever. But the phone pictures actually look good enough, but they're still believable enough to really drive home the fact that you can do what it is that you're saying you're doing. The other thing that is a common mistake is, like I said earlier, not taking the before and after picture from the same angle. If there is like significant difference in the angle that you take it from, that before and after picture is going to become a lot less powerful in the type of story that it tells, because now someone doesn't really know exactly what was done because their brain is trying to figure out where they're looking at this project from, and it just takes away from that instant kind of like flash that they can do in their mind. Finally, you want to pick a project that is extremely impressive. If you're just showing projects that are mid-tier for you, or even not really the type of projects you want to attract, that's only working against you. So if you can keep this in mind when you're doing your best projects, thinking to yourself, wow, this would be a really good marketing opportunity to take some before and after pictures, then you can get that before picture before it's too late and you're midway through the project. So keep it in mind every time you land a great project. Hey, that'd be a great before and after picture, and be intentional about doing it properly, because this is going to be one of your best marketing assets. The second type of content to use in your Facebook ads are what we call action shots. Action shots are pictures of you and your crew and your equipment in action, essentially. The whole point of this is we want to show who is behind the scenes of this business and who can I expect to show up to my front door and actually do this work. Now, the reason that action shots are so valuable in terms of content for your ad campaigns is number one, they just build trust. Because, like I said, people are wondering who is going to show up to my front door and actually do this work. So many landscapers are always showing the projects and showing, what the actual work looks like. But if you can show the people that are behind the team, this is going to build a lot of trust. And essentially, trust is what we are optimizing here for. So you want to definitely focus in on that. And the more that you can show behind the scenes, it's going to get a lot of engagement because it's interesting content that most people don't really see within a construction company. But also, secondly, is it is going to reinforce the fact that you're actually a legitimate company and you're not just one person in a basement who has a website for landscaping who's just running ads to stock photos. So the more that you can show behind the scenes, the more trust you're going to build because you're essentially providing proof that you are the real deal. This is where you can show, wrap trucks that you have, you in conversation with clients, you and your team. If you have any kind of branded shirts and stuff and hats and all of that good stuff, you want to show your team wearing all of that because this is all reinforcing the fact that you are a legitimate company that has a legitimate team and equipment that has infrastructure to actually support doing this type of work. So, what are some specific things that you can capture for these action shots? Number one is your team actually doing the installation. So, whether it's pavers, whether it's pools or artificial turf or outdoor kitchens or whatever, you want to show the technicians actually doing the installation. That is the first thing to focus on. Number two is going to be showing team photos, ideally with customers or with wrap trucks, because that is going to showcase that you are working with homeowners and that you have equipment, which means that you're probably successful to some degree. Now, what's really going to make these action shots pop and make them effective is number one, authenticity. Don't try and stage these types of pictures. These pictures should be candid in the moment because this is going to really start to build up that trust and that proof factor that, hey, this is all just behind the scenes and you're getting an inside look into all of this. Now, how can you use action shots in your ads? Well, they are best suited for static image ads. Showing pictures of your crew with your customers or in front of a truck, etc. This is going to get great engagement because people like to see people on Meta's platform. So I recommend to use your action shots in static images on Facebook. So what are some mistakes you can make with the action shots? I would say number one is you don't want to be unprofessional. Now, authentic is great. We want to be candid, but we don't want to be unprofessional. So I would recommend no pictures of, team members smoking or anything like that. You want to make sure that they look presentable, wearing a good shirt, no raggy shirts on or anything like that. You also don't want to go too far to the other extreme though and be too polished for these action shots. So again, like the before and afters, I recommend to take these action shots on your phone, make them candid, make sure people are wearing the branded shirts and they are in action. The third type of video content that we recommend are selfie videos. Selfie videos are personally branded videos that you film on your phone in vertical mode, essentially doing a short elevator pitch of your services. Now, the reason this content works so well is that number one, it is authentic to Meta's platform. On Facebook and Instagram, people are used to seeing videos of people talking and showing their face. So it only makes sense to do your advertising the same way. When something looks like an ad, people subconsciously tune out. So the reason these personalized selfie videos work so well is because they don't seem like an ad. They make you very relatable and they are very authentic. This builds a lot of trust. Essentially now as well in an age where everything is AI, right? And so the way to combat this is to focus on hyper authenticity, where everything is so polished and everything is so calculated, going in the opposite direction and doing a selfie video that shows you and your flaws and your authentic self is one of the best ways that you can build trust on Facebook ads right now. So what do these types of videos look like? Well, basically they look like you filming yourself in selfie mode on your phone in vertical mode, talking to the camera, ideally with the phone facing down on you so the angle is from up high. And then you have captions on the video with assisting B-roll to get people to visualize what it is that you're actually talking about. Now, structuring these selfie videos properly is an absolute critical thing to do, because in this type of short form content that you are presenting your ad in, people are very likely to scroll if something's not interesting or relevant to them. So you are going to need to get their attention very, very quickly. And this process is called creating a hook. A hook is the first 5 seconds of your video. And so you need to say something that's going to get their attention and make them want to keep watching the video until the very end. A simple flow for your selfie videos should be something like hook, problem, solution, call to action. So the start of your video could be something like, hey, if you're looking for a new patio to be installed this summer, we would love to help you. Keep watching this ad. That is an example of using something called an if-then statement, where I start off the video by saying, if you're looking for this, then we can do this. Some other examples of some hooks that you could do is being like, are you tired of this? Are you tired of looking at your lawn and wishing that it was as green as your neighbor's? So we want to start off the video with ideally a question or an if-then statement that's going to get someone's attention very quick. Don't try and be clever here. Make it extremely obvious what it is that you're doing and call out your ideal prospects and what their problem is. Then you want to talk a little bit about the problem, build up that pain and why this is a problem. And then once you've talked about that, provide your solution, which is ideally your services. We're going to be talking about maybe why they should choose you, any offers you have in place that are going to entice them to want to move forward. And then you can tell them what to do next, which in this case on Facebook is probably going to be something like, hey, give us a call at the number above or click the link below to request a free quote today, right? And so this is how you can make some very effective selfie videos on Facebook or Instagram. They shouldn't be more than 1 to 3 minutes long. And you're going to want to create a series of these different videos. And this is really going to take your ad creatives to the next level. Some people find it helpful to use a script for these types of videos. What I would recommend to do is to print out a script, do your selfie video, and just read it line by line, because you can always just stop and then read the script and then continue again. You don't have to do these selfie videos in one take. You can just chop it up in editing afterwards, and this is going to make your life a lot easier. Speaking of editing, that is also a very important part of this whole process. You don't want any dead air in these videos. So you want to edit the cuts to be quite quick and fast, and you want to edit out any mumbling or unnecessary tangents or rants or anything like that. Secondly, you want to get captions on the video. You can use a tool like Captions or Descript to put captions automatically on the video. This is going to be helpful if someone is looking at the video without sound, or it just also helps them to focus a little bit better as well. Some common mistakes that people make when they are recording their selfie videos is, number one, just sounding too scripted. So if you are going to use a script, like I said, read a couple lines, pause, and then continue again. Don't just read a piece of paper while you're holding a camera in front of your face. It's going to break that whole relational vibe. So what we're going for here is we want to build a relationship and come across authentic. We don't want to sound scripted. So that is a common mistake that happens with this. Another mistake is just talking all about the service and not about the outcome. So everyone is going to be providing the same services that you're providing. And if you're only talking about the services in your videos, that is going to be a race to the bottom and get into a bidding war. So you always want to be talking about the services, but then tie it back to the outcome that they truly want, which is to enjoy, those summer evenings with their family and the people they love most, and to have those birthdays and those barbecues and all those great memories that they are essentially purchasing from you in the form of that patio or that outdoor kitchen or whatever it is. Now, you can use these 3 separate creatives independently, but I recommend to run them all at the same time. Anytime we're using a script for video ads, we want to break it down into an acronym of 4 letters, which is attention, interest, desire, action, or ADA. This is a proven system of writing scripts that's going to get people's attention, build interest, build up the desire, and then get them to act on what it is that we're saying. All right, so here's the attention portion of the script. Ottawa homeowners, if you're looking to add a beautiful patio to your backyard this spring, read this ad. Basically what we're doing here is we're calling out the city. So if someone lives in Ottawa and they're a homeowner, that's going to get their attention. And then we're also calling out and using what I call an if-then statement, where we're saying, if you're looking for a backyard patio, then read this ad. So this is going to qualify the traffic. It's going to get their attention. And now their ears are perking up, right? So now let's go to the next part of it, where we are going to want to build up some interest into what it is that we have to offer. My name is Matt Thibeau. I'm the founder of Example Landscaping. And right now we're helping homeowners to transform their backyard and extend their living space using a backyard patio installation, right? So now we have built up some interest and we've attached a little bit of a benefit to what it is that we're offering here. And now what we're going to do is start moving into building up some desire. Whether you're looking for a complete backyard overhaul, maybe you want to add a new construction backyard patio, or maybe you want us to renovate your existing old patio, our expert team would love to help you. Plus, right now we're offering a free extended warranty included with your job and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Right? So at this point now, what we've done is we've built up some desire for what it is that we're offering. We've also given an offer in there. And like I said, you can do multiple offers, whether it's the extended warranty or the design consultation, whatever it is. But now at this point, we've built up some desire. And the last step in this ad is we want to make a call to action, right? So we're going to go, so if you'd like to start a conversation to get the ball rolling before our schedule fills up, give us a call at the number above or click the button below to request your free, no obligation quote today. I can't wait to show you what a 5-star experience looks like. I like to finish off the call to action with that phrase of saying, I want to show you what a 5-star experience looks like, because it just elevates a little bit of the vibe that we're going for, because we want to position as a higher end company. You'll also notice too in there, I'm very specific about what to do. So I say, give us a call at the number above, or click that button below. I don't say, just reach out. I tell them exactly what to do. So you want to be very clear in what you're doing in the call to action portion of this. So now that we have a great offer and we have a fantastic script in place, the third step in this video ad process is going to be actually getting the shot and editing it. The reason I call these video ads personalized video selfies is because they're exactly that. The type of shot that we're looking for these ads is not necessarily going to be a super polished or doctored look, although I'm not saying that you can't do that. But what we're finding that works the absolute best right now on Facebook and Instagram is pulling out your phone in vertical mode and just doing a selfie style shot, reading the script that we just went over. What this is going to do is it's going to humanize you. It's going to make you seem very relatable. And most landscaping companies aren't doing this. So this is going to build a lot of trust with your brand, and it's going to create a connection right off the bat with the homeowner. These videos are going to be around 1 to 3 minutes long, so not too long. And you're going to want to add in some B-roll in the shot as well. If you don't know what B-roll means, it's that on top of the video selfie shot of you reading the script that we just went over, you're also going to layer in B-roll, which are additional shots of video of your team doing the installation, video of maybe them standing beside the trucks, maybe talking to homeowners. You want to show B-roll footage of your crew and like your business and what you are capable of, because this is also going to build a lot of credibility that it's not just you, essentially. We want to show the team, we want to show the equipment, and we want to show ideally the clients so that people know they're in good hands. Additionally, during the editing process, I would recommend to add some music in the edit. You don't want to do anything like crazy, but I would recommend to put in some upbeat music that's going to build up the energy you're looking for, that's going to build up and work with the desire that we're building in that moment. And lastly, I would recommend to put captions on the ad as well. People who are looking at the video and maybe have their audio off, they can still watch the ad if they're in a situation where they don't want to play audio. And also, it's just going to help people comprehend what it is that you're saying more. So for these edits, I would recommend to use something like CapCut. They have a free option that allows you to add captions in the edit, and you can do adding the music and adding in the B-roll and some of those other things that I talked about as well.
So the first thing that we do when we're structuring an ad campaign on Facebook is we are going to use something called lead forms for our lead generation objective. You know, a lot of guys will try and basically send their ads to a website or to a phone call or something like that. I wouldn't recommend to do that. What I would recommend to do is to set up your ads to go to lead forms. The reason that this is going to work a lot better than, say, sending it to a website is that Facebook wants to keep you on Facebook. And so if you're running ads to send traffic off of Facebook, your cost per lead is going to be higher and Facebook isn't going to like it as much. So what I would recommend for all of your campaigns is to use something called a lead form. This is a simple form on Facebook that people can actually fill out while they're still on Facebook, so it'll keep them there and they can just fill out their details and then that information can be sent to you. These days, we're only doing lead form campaigns because we find that they have the best results. Now, you may have seen other tutorials or people talking about using stuff like messaging ads. You can use a messaging ad in your campaign, but what you're going to find is that the lead quality isn't as good. And so you're going to get cheaper leads, but you're going to have a lot more sifting to go through. So what I would recommend is to use lead forms. They take a little bit more time to set up, but you're going to find the results to be much, much better. Okay, so once you have your lead form set up, basically the way that we structure our campaign is we're going to have 3 different campaigns set up initially when we set up a campaign, right? So the first campaign is going to be what's called broad targeting. So basically what broad targeting is we're focusing on basically a location and an age. That's basically it. So what I mean by that is we're going to target a specific location on Facebook ads that you want to target and make sure that you're getting in front of those people, right? I would personally recommend to do a population of around 1 million people or more. You don't want to go too big with this, but you don't want to go too small either. A population that I would say would be a little bit too small would be anything under 200,000. And then a population that I would say would be too large just depends on your budget, essentially. So if you're doing around $100 a day in ad spend, I would say starting with a population of 1 million people is the ideal place to be set up at. So that is the broad targeting campaign. Second, you want to have another campaign set up, and that is going to be using targeting based under data. And essentially what this would look like is it would be a combination or one of the two, which would be firstly using something called a lookalike audience for your targeting. What a lookalike audience is it's a data sample that you get from maybe your CRM or just a spreadsheet that you have of names and emails and phone numbers of different people that you've worked with for estimates and such, and that you would be able to take that list and upload that into Facebook into what's called a lookalike audience. This is going to be the #1 thing for you to do for getting a data sample to Facebook. Essentially what this is going to do is be able to show Facebook, hey, these are the type of people that we want to show our ads to. Can you go out and find more people like this? So that is the first option that we want to go for when we're looking for a data campaign. If you don't have a lookalike audience list, right? Maybe you only have like a list of 100 names or something. Ideally, we want, 300 plus or so. So maybe you don't have a big list. Maybe you're a new company, or, you just don't have that data readily available. The second option that you can opt for would be interest-based targeting. This is where you would do everything that you did in broad targeting. So you target the age and you target the location, but you're going to add an extra interest to refine that broad targeting a little bit more. What we find works really well for landscaping, lawn care, and outdoor living in general is going to be just targeting home renovations. So basically people who have an interest in home renovations or renovations in general, that is pretty much the extent that we go to in interest targeting. We don't want to go any more specific than that in the data campaign, because that is going to limit our audience. So we're not going to have a big enough pool of people to show our ads to. So that's what I would do for the data campaign, and that's kind of how we structure things there. Lastly is you're going to have a remarketing campaign. Now, basically what a remarketing campaign is everyone who engages with our business, whether it be through seeing the ads from these two other campaigns or some of the other efforts that we have going on our website marketing and stuff like that, we want to start showing ads to those people and say, hey, are you interested? Or are you still interested after seeing some of our ads? So for the remarketing campaign, basically what we're going to be targeting for that is we're going to be targeting website visitors. So you can actually install something called a pixel on your website. And so that allows Facebook to be able to track website visitors and show them ads on Facebook, right? So super powerful strategy to do right off the hop. The second thing that we want to be remarketing for is Facebook page likes or Facebook page engagement in general, right? So people who are liking your posts or any of the likes on the page, we want to remarket to those people and show them ads as well. And then lastly is we do want to remarket to people who have attempted to fill out the form on these two campaigns here, but for whatever reason they didn't finish filling out the form. So we want to show them ads as well to follow up with them. And basically the advantage of doing remarketing is they're going to be able to get leads for much cheaper because we've already spent the money to show them ads using these two campaigns. So we want to follow up with them and say, hey, are you still interested? And so those are the three different campaigns that we set up initially for a client. And it's important to have these three different campaigns because I personally find most of the marketers or content tutorials and stuff that you're going to see on YouTube here, they're mostly just setting up like a very simple broad one, but it's important to have a data campaign and a remarketing campaign as well. So you're really attacking the market at all levels of the funnel, right? And making sure that we're following up with people and that we are basically leaving no stone unturned. So that is the initial campaign setup, but within each campaign, we're going to have ads, right? So they're going to have their own ads within each campaign, essentially. The way that I like to do it and the way that we do it in our agency is we have 8 ads set up for each campaign. And of those ads, we're going to have 50% of those ads be a picture or an image, and then 50% of them are going to be a video. So basically we're going to have 4 pictures and 4 videos for each one. So this would have 8 ads, this would have 8 ads, and this would have 8 ads. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to have a very specific targeting strategy for a specific pool of people, but then we're going to give them enough options of different ads to be able to test and see what works. What I find is that most people, when they're doing Facebook ads, they're not testing enough ads right out of the gate. And what this is going to do is result in a higher cost per lead, but you're just not going to know what actually works and what people are responding to. So in the beginning, we want to have a larger spray of ads out there, and then we want to see what people respond to so we know what is working and what's not working. Typically what we look for in the ads of what's working or not working is going to be the offers in those 8 ads or the creative in those 8 ads there. So for example, let's say that we launch those 8 ads for this campaign and we see, hey, most people are responding to videos, not a lot of people are responding to the images. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start phasing out the images and we're going to start focusing more on videos. So instead of having 4 different image ads, we might have 1 image ad and then the rest be videos. And once we have an idea of what type of creatives work really well for testing, then what we're going to do is start testing offers. In one of my other videos, I showed you 5 different landscaping offers that are proven to attract quality clients. And we're going to start cycling through those different offers, right? So for example, maybe we start off with a free design consultation initially, but then we start testing maybe some other offers like a same-day estimate or a warranty or a free maintenance package or something like that. And so we're going to see what people respond to from there. And so that's basically the strategy that we use for an entire campaign. And we would replicate this strategy for this campaign, and we'd also replicate it on the remarketing side. Something that's pretty neat that we will do on the remarketing side is because people have already seen the ads or they already kind of know our business, the ads on the remarketing side are definitely going to be a little bit less salesy in the sense that they're going to be mostly like testimonials or maybe some kind of extra special offer to push someone over the edge and actually reach out, because they have already seen our offer and they're already aware of kind of who we are and what we're all about. So we just want to be able to show different things to them basically of why they wouldn't have moved forward. So typically that would be like, they don't quite trust you enough yet. So that's how testimonials could really help out. Or maybe just no sense of urgency. You can hit them with like a more urgent offer that's going to tip them over the edge to actually reach out and be able to work with you.
Number one mistake that most landscapers make when they are running Facebook ads for their business is they usually will go too narrow with the audience targeting that they are using on Facebook ads. Let me explain. On Facebook, you can target a specific area or demographic or interest, right, using the Facebook targeting. And a lot of the times, a lot of landscapers will load up that targeting with all sorts of interests, right? So an interest in gardening and home renovation, in backyard design, et cetera, et cetera. And so they will create a very narrow audience. They'll put the age to be, someone who's like 30 to 40 years old and only a woman, and targeting these really specific interests. And what happens when you do that is you create too narrow of an audience, it's called, to be able to get enough results from. Because if we think about it, basically what we're doing here is we are defining an audience that we want to show our ads to, right? And so if that audience is not large enough, then what's going to happen is it will not be able to sustain the campaign, because there are only so many people who fit that exact criteria. And so you're going to run out of leads, or your cost per lead is going to get expensive, or you're just going to start getting bad leads because Facebook's not going to know how to send you the ones that you're looking for, because you're just going too narrow. On the other end too, you could also go too broad. So you can target like, a huge population with no real targeting at all. And what's going to happen is you will get leads, but typically you're going to drown out a little bit in the sea of all the other things that are happening. And so you want to have the perfect middle. And so what I've found is that the perfect middle, especially for your targeting there, is you don't want to have anything less than 150,000 people in your audience. And even that is the bare minimum that I would recommend. Typically, an ideal kind of range would be like 300 to 600,000 in the audience targeting. So when you're setting up your Facebook ads and you're looking at the audience, Facebook will actually have like a little barometer there, and it will tell you like, hey, this audience is very narrow, this audience is very broad. So I recommend to be somewhere in the middle of that. And so I would recommend no less than 150,000 people that you're going to be reaching with this audience, because if it's less than that, you're going to struggle to get the critical mass that you need to be able to really sustain the campaign going forward. So that's the first mistake. The second mistake is that a lot of landscapers will only target like one type of targeting. So for example, they'll only do a broad targeting campaign where they're doing age 30 to 65, targeting men and women and a specific location. So that would be what I would call broad targeting. And their entire campaign will just be using broad targeting. And that's the wrong way to go about this, because even though you're probably getting some results on just using broad targeting, you could also be testing interest-based targeting, and you could be doing a lookalike audience as well on top of that. And I have another video on this channel actually that goes into lookalike audiences, and you can check that out and see like how to set that up. But anytime that you are running Facebook ads, you should be testing multiple different interest targeting and targeting in general to be able to split test and see which one is actually working best. Because if you have one type of targeting that's working, that's great, but you want to be able to have multiple different forms of targeting to see what's going to work the best for you. I'll give you an example is that we were running a broad targeting campaign for a client, and it was working well. It was getting really good results, typically around like $25 per lead. And then what happened though is we introduced interest-based targeting, where we just put on top of the broad targeting, we just put a simple interest in home renovations on top of what we were doing, and we did a split test. Guess what? We were able to cut the cost per lead by about $5 just by doing that, with no impact on the quality of the leads or anything like that. So this is an example of how if you are testing different forms of targeting, whether it's broad targeting or interest targeting or lookalike audiences, you can definitely drive down the cost of your leads, and that is going to make your campaign more profitable. So do not only test one form of targeting, you should be testing multiple forms of targeting. Okay, number 3 is a big mistake that I see a lot. And this is where basically, where you're saying, oh, my leads are out of service or they're all the way over in this other state. While from time to time, you will just get some leads that are going to be out of service here and there. That's just kind of the nature of the beast using Facebook ads. Not all of them should be that case. And so sometimes we'll see where a landscaper will tell us like, hey, I'm running Facebook ads and I'm getting leads like over here or over there, like way out of the service area. And it's like very consistently happening. There's a couple different mistakes that are going on there, but the main one is that you probably have something called Advantage Plus engaged on your Facebook targeting. So this is like a setting that you can check, and it comes like pre-checked when you are setting up your Facebook ads. And basically what Advantage Plus is it gives Facebook permission to go and find leads elsewhere. So it'll kind of like adjust your radius and adjust your settings to be able to get more leads at a cheaper price. Now, obviously, this is not really helpful to you, because if you only service people in a specific area, then getting someone outside of that service area isn't helpful anyway. So what I recommend is you definitely do not want to use something called Advantage Plus. You want to uncheck that. Anytime basically that Facebook is like saying something's like an advantage or enhancement or optimized, or they recommend something, from my experience, typically from a targeting perspective, it's not in your best interest. It's typically to get more leads that are kind of like not really in the interest-based or in the location that you're really looking for. So uncheck Advantage Plus, don't do that. And also what I would recommend for the targeting for your location is that you shouldn't just do like a radius around your area and do like, so let's say you live in Toronto, Canada. You wouldn't just type in Toronto and like target all of Toronto. What I recommend to do is target specific zip codes within that. So break it down within the zip codes. This is called granular targeting. So you want to do all your targeting based off of zip codes and just list them all out. The advantage to this is that you're going to be able to see what zip codes are working and what ones aren't. And then you'll be able to actually cut the zip codes that you don't want at any point in this campaign, right? So you're a lot more detailed and more precise with the location targeting that you're actually doing when you're doing that. And this is going to get you a lot less leads out of service. And it's also going to make your campaign more profitable, because you're going to realize that there are certain pockets of where you're located that are responding to your ads more, and then there's others that aren't. So definitely want to use granular targeting, and you want to avoid using Advantage Plus settings in your location settings. All right, number 4 is not having any remarketing set up in your targeting. The reason that this is so important is if you're spending all this money on the front end to be able to get people to see your ads and they're visiting your website and they're clicking on your forums and stuff, then if they don't take that action, you're going to lose them, right? And so you're spending this money on the front end to be able to get these people to see your ads and all this stuff, but you're not following up with them using remarketing. I did a whole video about this that you can check out. And remarketing is something that every single landscaper should have in their Facebook ad strategy. And so remarketing is a great way to be able to lower your cost per lead, but also follow up with leads who have shown interest and basically just want to follow up with them and say, are you still interested in this? So not using remarketing is a huge mistake in 2025 when it comes to Facebook ads. All right, and then lastly, the 5th and final mistake of these top mistakes is going to be messing up your placements within targeting. So on Facebook, you can actually choose where your ads are showing up, and these are called placements. And again, something that's going to come pre-checked is something called the audience network on Facebook ads. What the audience network are all these other little websites that Facebook owns and all these other like little partnerships that it has. And mostly it's garbage traffic. And so if you're paying for audience network targeting, you're typically bloating your cost per lead, and we find that they're ineffective. So really all we do for the placements is that you want to focus on news feeds in Facebook or Instagram, and you want to focus on reels on Facebook or Instagram. Those are the 2 placements that you're going to get the most bang for your buck that you should be focusing on. And I would exclude everything else, especially audience network, because that's going to bloat your cost per lead. And we just find that people don't convert in these places. So you're really just wasting money by focusing on those. So those are the top 5 mistakes that I often see landscapers make when it comes to setting up the targeting on their Facebook ads. If you fix these 5 things and you do all the things that I just said in this video, you're definitely going to get a lower cost per lead, a lot more leads come through, and your campaign's going to become a lot more profitable. What exactly is Facebook ad remarketing? Well, basically what remarketing is essentially it allows us to follow up with people who have already seen our ads or engaged with our business online in some way or another. For example, if someone were to see a Facebook ad that you're running and maybe they don't take action right away, most landscapers would just keep showing that ad or maybe different ads, but they wouldn't do something called a remarketing ad where it would actually follow up with them based off of their activity and engagement with that existing ad. Another example of remarketing would be maybe they went to your website, maybe had nothing to do with Facebook. Maybe they saw a yard sign or something that was for your business and they went to your website, they checked it out. Oh, this looks good. But then life got busy and they forgot about you. Remarketing is going to allow you to follow up with your prospects and say, hey, are you still interested? And so remarketing is absolutely essential, whether you're doing online advertising right now or if you're not doing any online advertising at all. But the consequences of not doing any remarketing, which I would say is most landscapers, is that they are either spending money on Google ads or Facebook ads or SEO, and they're driving traffic to their social media channels or their online assets like their website and such, but they're not following up with prospects and just saying like, hey, are you still interested? Or even just having that omnipresence within their brand, right? And so the consequence of that is you're essentially leaving a lot of money on the table because you're spending so much money and all these resources to get people to request a quote and reach out to you, but you're not taking advantage of remarketing, which costs pennies on the dollar to be able to follow up with people simply by just placing a little code on your website or doing various other things that you can do that we'll talk about here in this video. So I want to just kind of illustrate the power of remarketing. So we have a client that we've been working with for a while now, and we're running Facebook ads for him. And something that was kind of funny that happened a couple weeks ago was he told us that he got a lead of someone and they were basically saying like, wow, it was such a crazy coincidence that I saw your ad pop up. I was talking with a friend and I was asking about who's the best landscaper to work with and who did their patio. And then the client recommended the company and said the name of the company. And then it was only a couple days later and I started seeing your ads everywhere. Like, it was incredible. What a crazy coincidence. And we explained to our client, we said, that's not a coincidence at all. What happened was that particular person heard the name of your business and they did some research online and they checked out your website. And as soon as they checked out the website, they got pixeled, it's called, which we'll talk about in a second. And essentially, that code has tracked their IP address and their unique information online. And then we started serving ads to them on Facebook because they visited your website. So to them, that's a coincidence. Oh, I'm seeing ads and I was just talking about this business, but it was actually part of deliberate strategy. And this is why remarketing is so powerful. You're able to capitalize on all different types of opportunities that come your way, because if there wasn't remarketing enabled on that client's website, then that person would have went to the site and checked out some stuff and then left and never would have saw anything ever again. That remarketing was able to catch them at the right time as well, because timing is really important as well, right? This is how remarketing can create something I like to call engineered coincidence, right? That person is now thinking like, oh, it's so amazing I'm seeing this ad, but they never would have seen those ads if we weren't using remarketing. So that's a cool example of just the power of remarketing and why you should be using it in your business. So just to drive home the point, if you're not using remarketing, or right now you don't even really fully understand what remarketing is, then this is going to be a game changer for you, because once you put remarketing on your website or on your ads, you're now able to capitalize on all of these different opportunities that are coming your way. So let's talk a little bit about the type of remarketing audiences that you can enable and how to enable remarketing for your business, because you've heard the benefits, you're hearing me talk about why you should do it, but I want to illustrate what it actually looks like. So the first type of remarketing that you can do is you can do remarketing on your website. So basically what this means is every single person who visits your website, they're going to start seeing ads on Facebook that are about your company. The way to do this is you need something called a Facebook pixel. What is a Facebook pixel? Basically what a Facebook pixel is, it's a simple code that you can put on your website that Facebook can provide for you. And once this code is on your website, then every single person who visits that site is going to be tracked, and basically it will be able to see their IP address. So then it will be able to serve ads to them on the Meta platform. The reason that this is so valuable is literally just by putting that code on your website, you don't even have to run ads. You could just put that code on your website and sit on that for years. And that pixel is going to start keeping tabs of all of the visitors, so that at any point in time, if you ever wanted to, you could just turn on ads and reach all of those visitors at any point in time. Super, super powerful strategy that we use on our website and all of our clients' websites. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing it. All right. The next type of audience, the second type, is going to be lead form abandons. And so basically what this is when we're running Facebook ads for clients, we typically will use something called lead forms. Basically what lead forms are just simple little forms on Facebook ads where people can fill out their details directly on the Facebook ads. So they don't have to go to a website or do anything else. The form is directly integrated on Facebook. And so what we like to do is if someone opens up that form, but for whatever reason, they don't fill it out and complete, then we want to remarket to those people as well. So that is a very powerful audience that you want to be remarketing to as well. And you want to select that when you're creating a remarketing campaign. The other audience that we like to remarket to are going to be Facebook and Instagram page engagers. These are people who have liked your page or follow you, or people who have even just liked an ad at any point in time or commented on it. Maybe some of your organic posts that you're posting, people who are liking those or commenting on those. Pretty much anyone who has ever engaged with your Facebook or Instagram page online in any sort of way, those people we want to remarket to and reach because they have already been introduced to your company at some point or another. The last audience that we like to focus on are people who have seen at least 25% of the video ads that we're running. So if we're running video ads, which, we do a lot of, then we want to remarket to people who have seen at least 25% of that video, because that indicates they have some degree of interest in the videos that we're putting out. And so we want to remarket to them, which is going to be cheaper, and they already kind of know our brand, right? And so those are the audiences that we like to do remarketing to. So once we know the audiences and, we have the pixel and all of this tracking set up, it's important to understand that we don't want to just send those prospects the same type of ad that people who don't know the company. There needs to be context in the message that we show for those ads. And there needs to be a different offer that's designed to push someone over the edge, because this particular audience already knows who you are. They've seen your ads around, and for whatever reason, they haven't moved forward. So we need to address all of those things in these remarketing ads and not just keep it generic, right? So for example, some good context for messaging in a remarketing ad would be like, hey, like maybe you've seen our ads around and for whatever reason you haven't reached out, right? So we're actually, in the messaging of the ad, we want to give context to like, hey, we know that you've been seeing us around and for whatever reason you haven't reached out. And it's probably for one of three reasons. It's this reason, that reason, or whatever, right? And so this is a really powerful way to be able to get those people to jump over the cliff, so to speak, because they are going to read that and be like, wow, this is extremely relevant for my situation. Like, it's almost going to be weird to them just how relevant that messaging is. And the more relevant that we can make the messaging in those remarketing ads, the more effective they're going to be. Another thing that we started to do that is very effective that you can give a shot on is you can do very specific offers for a remarketing audience. So for example, you could start off with that same kind of messaging being like, hey, for whatever reason you've been seeing us and you haven't reached out and gotten a quote. I'm assuming it's for one of three reasons, or this reason or that reason. Thank you for being a loyal follower. And as an appreciation for following us, we want to offer you a very secret special code, which is summer, and you get 5% off. So all you have to do is when you receive your estimate, just mention the code word summer to us, and we'll give you an additional 5% off on top of all the other amazing offers that we're giving right now. The reason that this type of offer is so effective is that it is a discount offer that's designed specifically for a remarketing audience. So it's not like we are advertising to cold audiences that like, hey, we're offering this discount, which is what everyone else is doing. But these are people who already know, like, and trust you, and for whatever reason, they haven't moved forward. So just offering that small little discount offer is very powerful. But on top of that, we also have something like a code word where it kind of feels exclusive. So we can say, hey, like mention summer and you'll be able to get this discount. They kind of feel a little bit like, oh, I'm an insider. And so it's a really cool offer that you can do for remarketing specifically to people who are already in your sphere, who are looking to get a bit of a deal. And by the way, it doesn't need to be 5% off discount. Like if you want to do something else, you totally can. So you can say, hey, mention the code word summer and we will upgrade your stones to, this higher level of stone, or, so you could do a discount, you could do whatever, add extra value, you could throw in something. It doesn't really matter, but using the code word is really what matters. That's going to build that exclusive feeling. And that's going to be really powerful for your remarketing audience. So those are some things that I would recommend for remarketing. Like I said, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be doing remarketing. Even if you're a brand new company, you could literally just put a remarketing pixel on your website and you can run what's called a micro budget. So you could literally just do like $5 a day for remarketing. And this is going to cost you very, very little. But all of the people who are in your sphere for your business, whether they're visiting your Facebook page or your Instagram or your website, then they're going to start seeing ads. And it's going to feel like to them like you're advertising like you're this big company that has this big budget, but you're really just using a micro budget because you have this really small audience that you can just serve your ads to. So it's basically like taking your organic marketing and just adding gasoline to it for very, very little, and you're going to get a lot of exposure. Like if you do like even 20 bucks a day and you have a fairly small remarketing audience, to them, you're going to be like hammering them with ads. And so what you're going to notice is you're going to get a lot more inbound leads, and the people who are in your sphere are definitely going to feel more affinity to your brand because they're literally seeing you everywhere. Then you're going to launch the campaign, right? And in that campaign, you are going to run that for the 2 weeks there in the beginning. Now, this 2-week period is essentially where you are spending money on these ads and you're just letting Facebook do its thing. Because essentially what you're looking for now is you are looking for data and feedback from what you have put out there, right? And so after those 2 weeks, you are going to go into the next phase, which is refinement. And in this phase, essentially what you're going to be doing are cutting the losers, and you're going to be adding winning variations, and you're going to be introducing new experiments. So basically what this means is that of all of your ads that you've been running for 2 weeks, you are going to be looking for any ads that are typically above a $50 cost per lead. Or in comparison to all your other ads, the ones that are clearly performing less. So the way that you're going to measure performance is going to be typically cost per lead and click-through rate. I would recommend just cost per lead because it's a very simple metric. So typically anything over 50 bucks, we consider to be expensive per lead. So you are going to look at which ones are the losers, and you're going to turn those ads off. And then you are just going to focus in on the winners. There should be some clear ads for you that are winners. And what you're going to do is ask yourself, what about this ad is making it win compared to the ones that have lost? What concept? And then I'm going to make some new variations to replace those losers that I've turned off. And those are going to be variations of the winning concept. But then you're also going to have a segment of the new experiments. And so you're still having the 9 different ad angles running, but you have replaced the losers with these 2 concepts here. So it's not like you're adding on top of that. You're just simply replacing the ones that have performed the least with these new concepts. And so this, when you're introducing new experiments, this is basically where you're throwing out like a wild new idea, right? And so you're always going to have your best performing ads running, new variations of those best performing ads, and then experiments. So you're going to have 3 different types of ads running at any given time, right? And so you're going to run that then for a total of another 2 weeks. So now your very best performing ads have been running for 4 weeks at this point, right? And now we move into phase number 3, which is going to be monitoring your campaign and then just repeating this process, cutting the losers, replacing with new variants of the winners, and then adding some experiments, right? And you're going to constantly be doing that new variation, and this cycle should be repeating every 4 weeks. What this is going to guarantee for you is that you are constantly reiterating on your ads and making sure that you are getting the lowest cost per lead and introducing new ad concepts all the time so that if something bites or pops off, you're going to be the first one to catch it, right? And this is going to position your business to always be at the head of the game, always have the edge, while all these other landscaping companies are just doing like 1 or 2 ads and then they're going to set it. This concept here, this is called A/B split testing. And this is definitely going to be the next big thing going in 2026. So like I said, if you don't have the team to be able to come in and implement this kind of stuff, you are definitely going to need a team that can help you with the administration of just constantly reiterating these new ads. And so these new iterations are definitely going to be very creative heavy, which again, creative means like videos, images. You are going to need a team that can help you to edit up these new videos, edit up these images, and be putting these out there. What I would consider to be a high cost per lead is anything over $50 per lead. Typically anything over $50, that's definitely getting to the point where there could be some optimization there and be able to drive down the cost for that. Anything under $50, and I generally would say that that's like a decent cost per lead. Anything under $30, and that's definitely very, very good for the strategies that we're going to be talking about here. So let's jump right into things. Number one, the first thing that I want to mention here is just having the right objective in your campaigns. The biggest thing that's going to drive up your cost per lead is if you are running your Facebook ads to a website or to a landing page or some kind of web URL where you're driving traffic to go and then look at a page and submit information there. That's typically going to drive up your cost per lead because it's an extra step or barrier that you're putting a prospect through before contacting you. So if you're not already, I would recommend to be running lead forms on Facebook ads. These are simple forms where people can fill out their name, number, any kind of description of the job directly on Facebook, and that will go to you through email or however you choose. And that is definitely how you're going to really quickly slash, your cost per lead. If you're running ads right now to a website or something like that, then switching over to lead forms is going to be one of the easiest things you could do to drop the cost per lead. So I would recommend to do that if you're not doing that already. Second thing though, that the most important I would say on Facebook is just testing the right creatives. So, if you have a high cost per lead right now on Facebook, I'm willing to bet that you're not testing a lot of creatives. Creatives right now, basically those are the images and the video, or like any kind of like visual element of your ad. If you don't know what the term creative means, that is one of the most important aspects on Facebook ads right now. That is what's going to drive down your cost per lead. So if you've been running the same creatives for a really long time, over time, that's going to create something called ad fatigue, and that is going to drive up the cost per lead. So that could be something that's going on for you right now. The other thing, like I said, is if you're not testing multiple different creatives, then eventually you're going to get a higher cost per lead as well. So what I would recommend to do is be testing multiple different creatives. You should never have just like one ad or, 2 ads or something running. You should have at least 8 to 10 ads running on your account. That's going to help you see like, okay, this is what's working, this is what's not working. And you can really turn off the ones that aren't working and then double down on the ones that are. So you need to be testing a lot if you have a high cost per lead. If you think about a high cost per lead, what that means is that people aren't responding to your ads. So the creative is one of the simple things that you can control that's going to get someone's attention, right? So you need to be testing different creatives and different avenues with them to be able to see what's going to work. Typically, what we see that works the best for the creatives that's going to get a lower cost per lead is anything showing up in the Reels section or the Shorts section on Meta ads or Facebook ads. That's where a lot of people's attention is right now. A lot of people are doom scrolling, as people say. And that's where a lot of attention is. So you want to create ads that are going to show up there. Typically, we find that video content is going to do really well there. So I would be testing things in that placement. That's where you're going to really start to see like, hey, we're driving down the cost per lead there. So testing different creatives, very, very important. The third thing that I would do is testing the targeting and just like the location targeting, but also the interest targeting that you're doing. So first things first is you will have a high cost per lead if you're targeting a very specific, like small radius for a service area, right? So anything under, I would say like 300,000, around that range for an audience size, that's not a very large audience. And so you're definitely going to start driving up costs because there's simply just not enough people who are looking for your services, right? So one of the things that you could do, if you're able to, is to expand your service area of who you're targeting and like where. If you're willing to go out further for your service area, that's definitely going to open up more opportunities for you, which can lower your cost per lead. You don't want to go too small on your service area, but you also don't want to go too large. So I would say anywhere around like 500,000 for your audience to 1 million. That's a very good place to be at. And that will lower your cost per lead if you're targeting like a super small area, I also talk a lot about my 3D targeting strategy. So the first type of targeting that we want to test is broad targeting. So that's literally like an age with the location. So very simple targeting on Facebook. But the second type of targeting is going to be database targeting, which is doing stuff like lookalike audiences and also doing interest-based audiences as well. So typically, like, we can really lower the cost per lead if we're running currently like a broad audience that's just hitting just a location and age. If we can start adding in some interests into that targeting, then that is actually a really good way to also lower cost per lead as well, because the ads are showing to a more relevant prospect, right? And so there's going to be a higher response rate to that. So that is something that we've also seen definitely lower the cost per lead and is worth pursuing for sure. I have other videos talking about targeting and such, so I would take a look at that to see the 3D targeting strategy in more detail. The fourth thing here that you can do to start lowering your cost per lead is experimenting with different offers. So the offer that you have on your ad might just be generic and it might just not be getting people's attention. So for example, if you're just doing like a really basic discount offer, like that will get attention, but if there's someone else in your area who's running like the same offer, really similar service, and like your service is commoditized because everyone is doing like really similar offers and marketing, then that's definitely going to increase your cost per lead because there's going to be less people who are responding to your ad because there's so many other service providers saying the same exact thing. So something that you can experiment with is creating a different offer, right? So maybe what you do is you come in with like a really cool bonus offer where, let's say you're doing designs for landscaping. So like landscape design, you can include like a free maintenance package or something when someone does the job with you. You know, typically those jobs are going to be tens of thousands of dollars. So you could throw in like a maintenance package for a couple months or something as a bonus. Another offer would be same day estimates. Not a lot of contractors have the systems to do same day estimates. And so that's going to get a lot of good attention, right? And so these are just some examples of offers that you can do other than just like a very generic discount offer. And sometimes if you implement the right offer at the right time, it can really drive down the cost per lead. It's going to get a lot of attention. So having a great offer is something that you can experiment with because sometimes just switching the offer a little bit is going to get a lot more people interested. It's going to lower your cost per lead. And then the last thing, the fifth strategy that I have here is just the overall concept. So this is definitely like more advanced marketing, but it basically just involves you to like step back from the campaign, look at the marketing that you're doing, think about the season that you're in, and think about the people that it's targeting and really ask yourself, like, is this a good concept for marketing? So for example, right now we have some clients, as I'm filming this, we are going into September and we have a lot of clients that do permanent lighting or holiday lighting in the winter to supplement their landscaping business because things shut down in the winter because of their seasonal situation, right? And so we had some clients that wanted to start up getting leads in July for the holiday lighting and permanent lighting. Well, obviously running ads for holiday oriented things in July is a little bit of a difficult concept, right? Because people aren't really thinking about that. But if you can position it in a way where the concept makes sense, then you can definitely get a low cost per lead and the campaign can be successful. So for example, in that situation, running ads for holiday lights in July, when people aren't really thinking about it, you can say in your ad though, in an offer, be like, hey, we're doing a bulk order discount. It's an early bird discount. Reach out to us now, and then we'll be ready for you in the holidays. So that's what I'm talking about when I say concept, is that there needs to be like a concept that really makes sense during the season and in the area, right? And so that's something that is really important that requires you to have a bit of a 360-degree view of what's going on in the campaign so that you can actually deliver a message at the right time in the right place for the people who matter most. So having the right concept, super, super important, because maybe you're running ads for decking and it's like winter and people just aren't interested. No amount of testing on the audiences or creatives or anything is going to move that campaign forward because it just doesn't have a great concept, right? And so you need to always make sure that the concept makes sense. This is one of the best ways you can lower your cost per lead. Something I want to tell you right off the bat that is going to make a big difference in your lead quality is going to be not using messaging ads on Facebook. So if you are using messaging ads, switch over to lead forms where people can fill out a form. That is definitely going to help a lot with the quality. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to assume you're already doing that and you're still having lead quality issues. So the first strategy that you can do to really start increasing the quality of your leads is by setting the Facebook settings to high intent instead of volume on your lead forms. So you are going to see a setting when you're setting up your ads in lead forms where you can choose between high intent or volume. I'm going to explain the difference between the two of them. Let's talk about volume first. Volume is going for exactly that. It's going for as many leads as possible for the lowest cost per lead on lead forms. And you may or may not attract people who are accidentally filling out the form because a lot of times they will auto-populate their name and their phone number and such details. And so this is a great way to get a lot of leads, but sometimes it can tend to also deliver low quality leads. So what I would recommend, if you haven't already, if you are struggling with lead quality, is to increase the intent behind your lead form. So turn on high intent. It's a setting in Facebook ads. And essentially what this will do is it will implement several different strategies essentially to make it harder for those people to enter in their information. So for example, once they fill out all their information, which they have to do manually, it won't be something that's automatically populated. Then at the end, when they submit it, it will say review all of your details and click accept. So it's adding like another barrier for them, as well as it's also going to include something called two-factor authentication. So basically their phone number that they input there to be contacted, it will actually text them a code and they have to verify that that phone number is real. So just doing that is going to be adding up some barriers. It's definitely going to make it harder for people to contact you. So typically your lead cost will go up when you do this, but it doesn't matter if it is increasing the quality of the leads for you, right? So when in doubt, if you're struggling with lead quality, the very first thing that you could do is start optimizing for high intent instead of volume. And this is most likely going to fix your lead quality issues. For us personally at Savant Marketing Agency, whenever we start off with the client, we do recommend to just start with volume first because most of our clients don't struggle with lead quality issues in the beginning. But if they ever did, then that would be something that we would move towards. So that's number one. Number two is going to be something called conditional logic. Now, essentially what conditional logic is you can add questions in the form for someone to answer. And essentially these are qualifying questions that are going to basically determine if they can actually request a quote or not. So for example, let's say that you have a minimum amount that you're willing to do work for, right? So in your form, you could add a question like something like a budget question, which would be the minimum we charge for a project is $3,000. Are you able to afford this? Or something like that. Maybe a bad example, but you get the gist of it. And so the person, when they're filling out that form, they can answer that question yes or no. And let's say, for example, that you have a hard cutoff after that amount in projects, right? So let's say they can't afford the minimum 3,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is. The form will actually close. So they can't even request a quote from you if they don't answer that question the way that you would want to, right? So if they fail the qualifying questions, they cannot even ask for a quote from you. This is going to do two things. It's going to save you a lot of time from calling leads who are not qualified. However, it's also going to do something called pixel conditioning. So it is actually going to train Facebook's algorithm to go out and find people who are actually going to answer the questions how you want them to and be qualified, right? So every time that someone fills that out and then it says no and it closes the form, Facebook doesn't like that. It wants to show the ad to people who are going to actually fill out those questions correctly. So you are actually training Facebook's AI to be able to show the ad to people who are more likely to fill out all those questions and agree to all of them. So what you're going to find is that using conditional logic is a very powerful way to train Meta's Pixel so that it will start showing ads to more qualified prospects over time. So that's called pixel conditioning. Very important and a very simple way to start qualifying leads upfront, again, it might increase your cost per lead. However, it is definitely going to increase the quality of the leads because you're putting up barriers. You're asking more qualifying questions. You can also qualify on timeline. So like, when are you looking to get this done? Essentially, what I would do is if you're struggling with lead quality, whatever is the issue with the quality of the lead, then I would add that as a qualifying question. So if it's budget or timeline, or maybe like, are you even looking for these services? You could add that in for a question, So this is what I would recommend as a second thing to do as well. Conditional logic is going to be very effective. Now, I have a third thing to recommend here, and this is kind of building on the strategy of conditional logic. So the third strategy that I would recommend is something called Conversion API. Now, essentially what Conversion API is going to do is allow your CRM to actually talk and communicate data back and forth to Meta's algorithm. The reason that this is so amazing and so powerful is that imagine if your CRM is tracking all of the sales that are coming from your Facebook ads, then Facebook will be able to see that these types of leads lead to a sale, and then other types of leads lead to being ghosted or not a sale, right? And so essentially what you could do with Conversion API is basically connect Meta and your CRM so that every time that you drag a lead into closed, like a sale from your Facebook ads, it will signal back to Facebook as a conversion event and be like, hey, that lead led to a sale. And what this is going to do is not only give data on the front end of submitted the lead like we were doing in conditional logic, but now you're also feeding data to Meta on the back end of what leads actually led to closed revenue. This is a new feature that we've rolled out for our clients. This is why we give all of our clients Go High Level included with our program as well, because now if they are using Go High Level and dragging their leads into different levels in the pipeline, then that will be able to communicate back to Facebook and say like, hey, more of these leads. These are the ones that are closing and these are the ones that are not closing. So we want these and we don't want those. So very powerful strategy. And over time, this is going to increase the quality of the leads that are coming through, because essentially you're giving Meta more and more data about who your ideal customers are, who's qualified and who's not, and who's actually turning into a closed sale. Specifically with Facebook advertising, when you're spending about $5,000 a month in ad spend or more, is something called creative fatigue. Basically what creative fatigue is that once you start spending a decent amount, $5,000 or more in ad spend, I would say, you're going to start noticing that your cost per lead is rising. The reason for this is because people are just going to get tired of seeing the same ads over and over and over again. Think about it. If you're running Facebook ads, and let's say you have 8 or 10 different ads that you're running, and you're targeting a very specific location, like a city or territory, service area, people are going to start seeing those ads over and over and over and over again. And if you're not constantly replenishing those ad creatives or your, the visual element of your ads, then people are going to stop responding to it and they're going to become less effective. And this is what's known as something called ad fatigue or creative fatigue, right? And so what used to take you, maybe 2 to 4 weeks to start seeing if you're running the same Facebook ads, that is going to be accelerated the more that you spend on ad spend. And so now instead of having to change over your ads every, 2 to 4 weeks, you're having to change over your ads at least every week or so. And so this is going to increase the overall management of the ads and just the amount of time that you're going to have to invest in that. And it's also going to increase the amount of content production that you actually do in your business, right? Because you can't just keep running the same ads or just do like small tweaks to them. You're going to have a content engine that's going to be able to keep up with the algorithm, right? Because the more that you're spending, Facebook's algorithm is going to consume your content faster and faster, and they're going to become less profitable if you don't. And so here's some tips that I would recommend. I kind of already alluded to. So number one is you're going to have to start replenishing your ad creatives at least every week or so. We typically find that if a client's spending 5,000 or more on ad spend, we're in there and we're creating new ads on a weekly basis to be able to combat the cost per lead rising up. Because basically, like I said, people are going to get tired of seeing those same ads over and over again. So you're going to have to create a new visual element or a new ad, or at least a new hook to create new stimulus in those ads, right? So every week you should be creating new ads at this point to be able to keep the cost per lead down. Obviously, this is going to require significant time investment on your end for creating new content and having some new images and videos to use in these ads, right? And so that means, lots of filming, lots of pictures, lots of different content to be able to test and experiment with. Something that we use in our agency to help our clients out, because it can be a lot of work on the content side, is using AI tools. So the two different AI tools that we use, number one is HeyGen, which basically allows you to clone your likeness or a team member's likeness. And essentially you can start creating more video content at scale. So you can use like avatars that are in that actual software, or you can clone your own likeness, and then you can start actually making new intros to your ads, or just a whole new thing of content in general. So I find that HeyGen is very powerful for just creating new hooks and keeping up with the amount of content that you're going to need. And then we use another one called 11 Labs. And basically that has like very realistic voice synthesizer for doing ads as well. So you can clone your own voice, which is super cool, or you could actually just use some of the different voices that they have. But I really like using 11 Labs because now you can just do videos of like filming your work, and then you can actually use 11 Labs to then do a voiceover with that, with captions and such. So those are the two AI tools that we use to be able to keep up with the amount of demand that you're going to need for content. Super, super helpful. I definitely recommend it. So that's number one. The second hurdle that you're going to start encountering is that you need to have proper budget distribution within your campaigns. So for example, I would definitely not recommend to take, a $5,000 a month budget and then put that into one campaign, or put that into like one ad or something. Sometimes landscapers, what they'll do, especially on Facebook ads, is they'll have one campaign and maybe like one or two ads, and they're spending $5,000 a month on just like that one ad or that one campaign. That is one of the fastest ways to just start burning money, because you're so specifically focused on this one targeting strategy, this one ad, you're just going to burn it out very, very quickly. And so when you have a larger budget, it gives you the freedom to be able to basically address different prospects at different levels in the buying cycle, right? So in our agency, we use 3 different types of campaigns. And then within those campaigns, we have 8 to 10 ads running at any given time. So the first type of campaign that we'll do is a broad targeting campaign, where we're just targeting the age, usually age 30 to 65, and then the location. So we'll do like your service area, and that's broad targeting. And then the second type of campaign that we're going to do is something I call data-driven targeting, where basically we are going to be targeting based off of custom audiences. Maybe, you give an email list or something like that. So we have some names and numbers that we can feed to Facebook's AI to start finding more people like that. Or we're doing our own interest-based campaigns where we're typing in like, has an interest in home renovations or landscaping, etc. So we're giving Facebook some data in those campaigns, and it's not so broad. That's something else that we like to test. And then lastly, the last type of campaign is going to be a remarketing campaign. So then every single person who's visiting our ads or clicking on them, engaging with them, or the website, we want to start showing ads to those people too. So this is how you can evenly distribute your budget across multiple different campaigns for a more diversified approach. And this is how you're going to definitely get much better results than if you were to just like spearhead it into one specific ad or something and put all of your eggs in one basket. All right, let's talk about number 3 here. The third hurdle, this one's very popular, is obviously when you're spending more on ads, you're going to get a lot more leads come through. And so if you are running ads before and maybe you're doing a lower budget, that's something that maybe you could handle as the owner to do the appointment setting and the sales aspect of it. But as you start getting a lot more leads in place, you are definitely going to need to have an appointment setter on your team. What is an appointment setter? An appointment setter is basically someone whose sole job is just to call up those leads or contact them and then qualify them and book them in for an in-person appointment. Ideally in person. If not, then it would be an over-the-phone appointment or something like that. But you're going to need someone who's dedicated to contacting those leads and bringing them through your sales process. The reason that this is so important is, like I said, as you're getting more leads coming through, it's going to be harder and harder for you as the owner to stay on top of it all. And especially if you want to really scale up, like add another location or hire some more salespeople, et cetera, you're going to need to start building out like a sales infrastructure to sustain this type of growth, right? So having an appointment setter, extremely valuable because they're not only going to contact the leads fast, but they're also going to be following up with all the leads, right? So if someone doesn't answer when they first call, the appointment setter should be relentlessly following up with those leads because you're paying for those leads. And if you want to actually start scaling the advertising so you can grow the business, you're going to need to take basically the most amount out of these opportunities that are coming your way. So you don't want to leave any stone unturned. You want this person to be calling them, texting them, emailing them. And that is going to be one of the best investments that you're going to make because there's no point in spending all this money on advertising if then you don't have adequate follow-up or someone contacting them, right? Another thing too is having a really good CRM in place. I recommend Go High Level. This CRM is going to help you stay on track, keep up to date with everything, leave notes for specific customers. So your appointment setter or setters, your team, are going to be able to follow up on those leads adequately. You can also do stuff like mass email follow-up or mass texting, but you are going to need some kind of software to help you keep up with all this stuff. So I recommend Go High Level. Some people like Jobber, House Call Pro. Doesn't really matter what it is, but it needs to be a comprehensive software that's going to help you to keep up with all this growth. All right, now let's talk about number 4 is the estimating process. It's going to be really hard for you to scale if your estimating process takes forever to actually deliver someone an estimate. So I would say that a couple of the hurdles for landscapers to overcome is number 1, just learning to estimate faster. So getting your processes to the point where ideally you can deliver a same-day estimate or maybe an estimate within at least 72 hours. The reason that's so important is because if you're taking like forever to deliver an estimate, 1 or 2 weeks type thing, the problem with that is that as you scale up and as you grow, you are most certainly going to start dropping balls and never delivering that estimate. And also it's going to start hurting your sales process because if you are delivering estimates within a week or longer, these prospects are going to be receiving estimates from other smaller companies who can deliver that estimate way faster. And so typically the first person who can deliver the estimate and really make a great first impression is most likely going to land the job. So you want to collapse the amount of time that it takes you to deliver that estimate. And what this is going to do is help you build systems around that. So then you can have an estimator maybe who comes in, gives a same day estimate or an estimate at least within 72 hours for more of those intricate jobs. But you need to have a fast estimating process and it needs to be systemized. And as you're growing, you're definitely going to need to hire some estimators who understand construction, who are good at sales and are actually going to ask for the order. So many contractors will deliver an estimate through email or they'll just say, okay, I'll send you an email with the estimate later, and they don't even ever ask for the order. So you're going to need to definitely have a salesperson in there for your estimates, and they're going to need to ask for the order, right? This is going to definitely boost your sales. Just being in person is going to help. You'd be so surprised by how many jobs that landscapers will lose simply just because they email over the estimate and they never actually present it in person, and they're not there to answer any questions when showing the number, right? So very, very important. And the last and final hurdle that you are probably going to have to overcome is just the operational complexity of scaling your lead generation and sales, right? So as you're getting more leads coming through, you're getting more sales coming through, that is going to add more operational strain on your business, right? And so it's very, very important that you streamline your operations so you can actually handle more production, right? Because the last thing that you want is to get all of these sales and all this growth, but then your team can't actually fulfill on any of it, right? And so a couple things here that are going to help you along the way. Number one is just really niching on your services, and so that you can build out your systems, right? Because if you're niched and you have a specialization, then that is going to help you to become a lot more productive and efficient in your production, right? If you're running around and doing a whole bunch of other random jobs, then it's going to be very difficult for you to build a team and systems based around that to really scale up. But if you can do like one or two things really well, that's going to be a lot easier to scale up and build some serious systems behind, right? A really good book that I would recommend to just learn a little bit more about this stuff is a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And basically, he's the founder of the Entrepreneur Operating System. And this is going to teach you how to just systemize your business in a way that can really start scaling up and handle, more leads, more sales, so that it doesn't all just count on you. So very, very important. Like I said, the last thing you want to do is have all this great marketing and sales going on, and then you just can't fulfill any of the work, so you have to stop it all. Landscapers run Facebook ads and run into this problem all the time, which is, Matt, my leads aren't picking up the phone. What do I do? This metric of, how many people you're able to have a conversation with, let alone book or, sell a landscaping job, but just have that conversation. This is what I call a connection rate in your advertising funnel. And your connection rate should at least be 90%. If it's anything under that, then you have what I call a connection rate problem. And to fix this problem, you're going to first need to understand the perspective of the buyer when they request a quote from a landscaping company. Here's what happens is they decide they want a landscaping project done and they want to be due diligent. And so what they do is they request multiple different quotes because they are told from people around them that if you don't request multiple quotes, you are being negligent because you should be able to compare pricing and recommendations and companies and blah, 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 right? What happens though is that they get inundated with text messages, calls, emails, et cetera, et cetera. And what happens? They get overwhelmed and they stop answering people. Now they're thinking to themselves, am I really ready for this? I was just in a stage where I just wanted to start to talk to people. I wasn't ready to move forward, and they start pumping the brakes. And so it's important that you understand that when you're going into this process, because it's going to give you a little bit more grace and a little bit more understanding instead of just being, well, this person requested a quote. Why the F aren't they answering me? Now, here's the good news. We're going to be talking about 7 different strategies you can implement as a checklist in your business to fix this problem once and for all. Fix number 1 is using lead form ads. Now, if you're already using lead forms, sit tight because I have plenty of other strategies coming, but we're going to start from the foundation here, and then we're going to start to build up, okay? Now, lead form ads are basically ads on Facebook where someone can fill out their name, number, description of the project, and other details natively on Facebook's platform. Now, if you are running things like messaging ads, this is going to lower the quality of the leads coming through, and they do have a lower connection rate. So it is important, before we go any further, to say that if you are not running lead form ads yet, this is something that will increase the quality of your Facebook ads and ultimately get your connection rate to be higher so you can speak to more people, book more appointments, and close more sales. There are some other structural things that you can do to lead forms to increase quality of your leads as well. You can use conditional logic, which essentially is asking a couple of different questions on the form. And if they answer incorrectly to those questions, you can close the form and they actually don't have the option to request a quote in the first place. This is going to save you time because They won't be able to fill out that form. And also, it is going to ensure that you are qualifying them a little bit more upfront, which is going to boost your overall connection rate. Additionally, there are other barriers that you can put in place for lead forms. One of them is to optimize for quality instead of volume. This is essentially where someone would be able to manually fill out their information instead of have it auto populate on Facebook. This is proven to increase quality, which will again increase your connection rate overall. However, these structural changes, like adding a conditional logic form or adding additional questions, will decrease the amount of leads that you're getting through on Facebook overall. So just keep that in mind. The second fix that you can implement in this process is your content. If the content or offer in your marketing isn't attractive in the first place, then there may not be a compelling reason for the prospect to really want to get on the phone with you, especially if someone else reached out back to them and they like that brand better. There's a good to fair chance that they're going to ignore your call, knowing that maybe they're not interested anymore because a better offer seems to be put on the table. So the first thing that you want to keep in mind is always making sure that your content is highly relatable and optimized for trust. One of the easiest ways that you can do that is by using personalized video selfies on your phone as ads. This is going to build a lot of trust with homeowners, and it's going to put your face in front of them before they even meet you, which is going to increase the likelihood that they're going to want to talk to you. Additionally, what you can do is also create a very compelling offer that's going to make it very interesting for them to want to speak with you. Some examples of this would be offering a free design mockup with your project. You might be able to also offer a same-day estimate. You could also offer a amazing warranty included. Some of our clients have lifetime warranty on certain services. So these are all things that you can implement in your content that's going to build up the desire for homeowners to want to reach out to you and actually speak with you. On top of that, if the lead quality that you're getting is low and you aren't speaking to them, then something else you can do on top of doing a different form of content or changing the offers is to just do more content. Facebook likes it when you run about 10 different ads at any given time. And so maybe what's happening is you are running only one or two ads and you're experiencing something called ad fatigue. Basically, what ad fatigue is that Facebook is tired of showing your one or two ads to the same people over and over and over and over again. So now what's happening is the quality of your leads is going down because Facebook is trying to get paid. And the way it gets paid is when you get leads coming through. So it is just starting to serve you garbage. So what I would recommend is to increase the quantity of the ads that you're putting out and increase the quality of them. And do that more often, every 2 to 4 weeks. Once you start cycling through those ads, if you still don't see the quality of the leads going up, then you just can continue this process I'm going to teach you here. But this should also increase the quality of those leads. Fix number 3 is speed to call. One of the best things that you can do is call your leads and get them on the phone. This is going to make sure that they have your full attention and that they are not overwhelmed with your message and just get analysis paralysis. So our ultimate goal is to get them on the phone so that we can have a conversation with them and start to bring them through the process. Now, it is important to note that you should be calling your leads as fast as possible, ideally within 5 minutes or less. Again, they are being inundated with other people that they have reached out to. We don't know how long they're going to be willing to speak to landscapers, and maybe they're going to talk themselves out of this project due to overwhelm or analysis paralysis. So you want to call these leads as fast as possible to reduce any friction in the process. And this is going to dramatically increase your connection rate. Typically, when we see people with a low connection rate, under 90%, it's because they are not reaching out to their leads fast enough, because they're stuck on a job site or they just are reaching out to them at their leisure. This is not something you want to do. So whether you need to set up a automation using something like Go High Level that will call the leads as soon as it comes in and it just forwards to your number, or maybe you need to hire an appointment setter if you're on the tools, someone whose only job is to call these leads and set up those appointments, get your admin person to do it. whatever like a road that you choose to use to combat this problem, you do need to combat it. And so call your leads as fast as possible. This is going to make a massive shift in your connection rate. Fix number 4 is going to be a process I call double dialing. This strategy does get negative feedback when I tell people to do it because essentially they misunderstand what I'm saying as essentially spamming people, which is not what we want to do. But what the process of double dialing is when you call your lead as fast as possible and they do not pick up, hang up and call again. What this is going to do is it's going to push through the noise and it's going to typically get that person to pick up because they are getting so many phone calls throughout the day that are robocalls and other phone calls, and they may not recognize your area code or your caller ID. And so calling on that second call is more likely to get them to pick up because of the second call and just the urgency of that. Now, when I tell people to do this, they'll say, Matt, I don't want to bug people. Calling them the second time means like maybe they were ignoring my call because they didn't want to pick up the phone. Listen, if someone requested a quote on Facebook for your business, then you have the responsibility to reach out to them and give them that quote. Calling a second time if someone did not pick up is not wrong because they didn't pick up. If they're not there, they won't be agitated. If they're busy, they're going to send it to voicemail anyway. Trust me on this process. This is going to get more people on the phone and you will be able to book more appointments because of this. Fix number 5 are simple yes messages. Now, let's say you call your leads and you call them quickly and you double dial them and they still don't pick up. The next step that you're going to take is you are going to send them what I call a simple yes message. Basically what this is are text messages or email messages that are about 3 sentences long that end with a question and require little to no effort to actually respond to. Hey, Sally, this is Matt from Example Landscaping. I got your request for a hardscaping quote. Are you available for a short 15-minute call tonight at 5 p.m.? This is going to make it very easy for them to reply back to your text or email and say, yes, I'm available for that call. And then you can conduct a 15-minute discovery call and ultimately book them in for the estimate. Most landscapers are sending texts and emails that don't end with a question, that are very long and basically just overwhelm someone so they don't take any action. These texts and emails are designed to create a response and get people to answer back to you. So if you do it this way, you will get responses. Keep it short, end it in a question. This is going to get responses for you. Fix number 6 is calling at different times. So let's say that you complete this entire process and they still not have gotten back to you. At this point, what you're going to do is the next following day, you're going to start calling them at a different time. So if the last time you called them was in the morning or in the afternoon or the early afternoon, then you can start trying to call them in the evening and vice versa. What this is going to do is increase your chances of actually getting them on the phone, given if they, work during weird hours or, they're super busy during specific hours and can't take your call. This is going to make it more likely that you're going to be able to get them on the phone. Most homeowners pick up the phone around 6 or 7 o'clock at night. If you are able to do your calls at the end of the day, this is proven to increase connection rate as well. All right, and the 7th and final fix that I have for you for your connection rate is going to be sending personalized video texts. If you have exhausted all strategies that have been listed here, then what you can do as a final Hail Mary is send a personalized video text to your prospect. Essentially, what you're going to do is record a personalized video selfie of yourself looking at the camera and saying, hey, this is Matt here from Example Landscaping. I got your request for a hardscaping quote. The reason I'm sending you this video is I just want to put a face to the name for you in case you forgot who we are. Tell me a little bit more about your project and what you're looking to get done. We'd be happy to help. What you're going to notice is that people feel bad for ignoring you because now they have a face that they can see. And so it is harder for them to just leave you on red by doing this because now there has been some kind of bond because you've actually recorded a video for them that they know is not automation or AI. So they do feel the need to reciprocate and give you an answer. So that answer may not be what you want, where they're going to say, like, I'm not interested anymore. Or they're going to be like, yeah, let's have a conversation, because I promise you, no other landscaper is doing this. So if they did get overwhelmed, this is your best chance at cutting through everyone else's message to make you the most relatable as possible. Now, the purpose of a discovery call is to be a 15-minute short call where you're going to get an understanding of the scope of the project, but more importantly is you're going to start to understand why they want to do this project and their level of education and awareness of the project overall, whether it be price, process, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there are 7 major questions that you should be asking on this discovery call to set yourself up for success. So let's go over how to conduct a discovery call together. Here's how you're going to start off. Hi, is this Bob?
Yep, sure is.
Hey, Bob, this is Matt here from Example Landscaping. The reason for the call is that you filled out a form on Facebook regarding an estimate of a patio project. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I think I requested that the other day.
Awesome. Do you have 10 minutes to chat with me, or am I calling at a bad time?
No, I've got time to talk.
So we want to start off this introduction by first identifying that you're talking to the right person. And then secondly, you're going to introduce yourself and you're going to say your name, your company, but more importantly, you're going to explain why are you calling? And you're going to use the phrase, the reason I am calling is because, and when you say the reason I'm calling, this is where they're going to really be perking up and listening and basically like deciding, like, do I still want to be on the phone with this person or not? So it's very important that you say something along the lines of, the reason I am calling is because you filled out a form on Facebook regarding a patio quote. Does that ring a bell? This is a very powerful phrase because you're giving the reason why you're calling, you're telling them what they did, and then you're ending with a question to say, hey, do you remember what I'm talking about here? And assuming they say yes to that, then the next step from there is you're going to ask permission to stay on the phone with them, which is, hey, am I calling at a bad time? Do you have 10 minutes to chat right now? And if they agree and say, yeah, I can chat with you for 10 minutes, I have time to talk. That is what we call a micro commitment. And what that's doing is getting them to commit to that call, because you can't just jump into talking about the project and stuff if they don't want to be on the phone with you. So it's very important that you ask, hey, am I calling at a bad time, or can you chat right now? Now, once you get them to actually commit to the call with you, your next stage is you're going to start asking them questions and you're going to take notes to all of the answers that they give you. Question number 1 is asking them to tell you about the scope of the project. In the beginning of the call, you're going to ask them to tell a little bit about the project that they have in mind. Now, most landscapers spend 80 to 90% of their time just talking about the scope. And what I should mention is that while the scope is important because you're deciding whether or not you want to take on this project or you have the capability to take it on, the scope is subject to change as you meet with them and upsells and other things happen in the process, right? And so I would recommend to not spend too much time on the scope. You're just trying to get a general idea of what they're looking for to determine whether or not this is something you want to do. So just get a brief idea of the scope and then move on. Question number 2 is you're going to ask, why are you looking to get this done? I would argue that this question is far more important than the scope question, because you are looking for the reason why the homeowner is looking to get this project done. It could be for many different reasons, but ideally what you're looking to discover are emotional drivers, things that are really pushing someone to want to get this done for deep reasons that are not necessarily surface level. Right? So an example of a surface level reason would be, oh, I want my backyard to look nice, right? But a deeper emotional driver reason would be to uncover that maybe their relative's birthday is coming up and they're an older person and they have, health issues, and they're just looking to have an amazing birthday to celebrate them and make them feel really special. And you want to do in the backyard and have an awesome barbecue and all the family back there and everything to just look amazing. That would be a deeper emotional driver. Now, whether or not you can get there with them on the phone is down to your ability to build rapport and ultimately make them trust you. But what you are looking for here is the deep emotional driver of why they are looking to get this done. And again, this could be for many different reasons, but what you are looking for is the deeper reason than just the surface level reason of, oh, I think it'd be cool to redo my backyard. The third question you're going to ask is, how long have you been thinking about doing this project? The reason that this is a great question to ask is because first, you are gauging what level or stage they're at in the buying process. If they say something like, oh, I saw your ad and I just thought it'd be interesting to get a quote, I've kind of always wanted that, and it just kind of came up randomly, then they're probably earlier in the buying process. They're just starting to do their homework and just kind of learn about things. But if they say, oh, I've been planning to do this for a year now, and now we're starting to get quotes together to make a decision, that is a very different prospect compared to what I just said. Additionally, this question is also going to reveal the level of education they have in things like pricing and expectations and process, because if they've been thinking about doing it for a while, most likely they have done some level of research into the project. Question number 4 is going to be, have you ever hired a landscaper before or done similar work to your home? What you are doing by asking this question is searching for evidence of past buyer behavior. If they tell you something like, no, I've never hired a landscaper before, I've never hired a contractor on my home before, then you don't have a whole lot of evidence that in the past they have spent money on improving their home. Whereas if you ask that question and they say, yeah, we've hired a landscaper before and they did this project, or we hired an interior remodeler or a painter or whatever, that means that they are a proven buyer. They have a previous history of buying things. And the past typically is going to also be behaviors in the future, which means that they are most likely going to be the type of person to buy from you. So this is a very valuable question to ask so you can understand if they have a history of purchasing home improvements. Additionally, let's say that they say they did have an experience with a landscaper or something before you. You can also follow up and ask, well, how was that experience? Like, why aren't you just hiring them again? Why are you looking for someone else? And then they can maybe explain to you some things that have gone wrong, or you might even learn about some red flags of this particular client because you might hear them complain about a landscaper and it sounds like their expectations are unrealistic or something. So this is where it's really important so you can understand maybe what was their experience like from a landscaping company, and are there any red flags that you're noticing in their past behaviors? Question number 5 is to ask, where are you at in this process? Have you gotten other quotes from other landscapers, or are we the first company that you're speaking to? I personally love this question because firstly, it's going to give you an idea of their level of education in terms of pricing and the process. Because if they've spoken to other landscapers and gotten other quotes, then they have some comparables. So they have a general idea of what something like this would cost. Additionally, though, this question is great because you can set yourself up to be one of the last quotes if you do like to do that, because then you have some negotiating abilities. Question number 6 is, when are you actually looking to get this done? Asking about their timeline is also a great question because number 1, it's just practical to understand when are they looking to get started with the project so you can schedule accordingly. But number 2 is it's going to be very helpful to know when they're looking to get this done, the level of urgency in that, because then when you go in for your estimate, you can actually use that and be like, oh, I know you want to get started like sooner rather than later, right? So you can kind of use that in your pitch when you're delivering the estimate. And this is definitely going to be helpful information to know if you're setting yourself up for success. And last but not least, question number 7 is, have you done any research into what a project like this might cost? Most landscapers are afraid to ask this question about price because they don't want to hear the answer that they don't want. But if you frame this properly, you've built enough trust up to this point, this can be extremely helpful for you when you're going into the estimating process. So you just want to ask this question and put out a feeler of like, do they have any idea of what something like this would cost. But more than likely, what they're going to do is probably spit it back at you and just say, yeah, I have a general idea of what something like this would cost. I spoke to a couple people, but what would you think it would cost based off of what I told you I'm looking for? And in which case you could do something like, well, without doing a real site visit and getting an understanding of the entire scope, generally on the high end, you're looking at something like this. And on the low end, you're looking at something like that. Is that within your budget? So essentially what you're doing here is you kind of just want to anchor them at a general idea of price so that it's not a complete shock when you're showing them the estimate. You just want to avoid, people being like completely blown away. So you're gauging their education level of pricing here. And you should have a pretty good idea up until this point anyway, because we've been asking questions that are indicators of their level of education. So if you've gone up to this point and they have like no education at all, then this might be a bit of a sticker shock when you start mentioning that price. But at this point, they should have a general idea if they have answered these questions appropriately. Now, the final step from here is once you've asked all these questions and you have an understanding of the project and their why and all this great information, you can say something like, well, great, Sally. Sounds like we could definitely help you out with this project. The next step from here is to book you in for an in-person consultation. I recommend once you book them in to give them a rundown of what that appointment is going to look like. So you can say something like, yeah, and during this appointment, I'm going to come over, I'm going to do some measurements. We're going to discuss about some of your options, and you will be able to get a price right then and there at the end of the appointment, if that's okay with you. You also want to make sure that all the decision makers are there during that appointment so that you don't have to do any back and forth afterwards if someone wasn't there to get all the information. If you don't know what a reactivation campaign is, basically what we're going to be doing is taking all of your marketing efforts for the years 2025 and all of the people who didn't close from those meetings that you had, we want to give them a different offer in hopes that they're going to convert into a new customer this fall and winter season. So before we get into my 5-step strategy, I am going to be making 3 different assumptions in your business. Number 1 is that you are doing some kind of advertising or marketing that's going to be bringing in leads. If you don't have a lot of leads, this strategy will work, but it's going to work a lot better if you have a lot of lead flow coming through. The second assumption I'm going to be making is you have a CRM in your business, or you have some kind of way that you're organizing your leads. If you don't have your leads organized, it's going to be really difficult for you to implement what I'm talking about here. And you're going to have to do a lot of work to be able to organize them up front. And by that time, you may or may not be able to implement something like this. And the third assumption that I'm going to make in this video is that you're actually looking to close more sales and book yourself up more. You're not completely booked up for the season. So I am assuming that you're looking to squeeze in some more revenue, squeeze in some more jobs, and be able to put some more work on your calendar. All right, so let's jump right into things here. So step number 1 in my strategy here is to actually pick a date for your reactivation campaign. I would definitely say that September is a great month for doing a reactivation campaign, because if you're a landscaping or lawn care or outdoor living company, most people have gotten a quote from you in the beginning of spring. And so they've gone through all of summer here. And now is a great time to be able to hit them back up and say, hey, are you still interested? And potentially give them a really cool offer to move forward as well, which we'll talk about in a second. So picking the date is super, super important. And you want to set out about a week block for this reactivation campaign. We'll go into why that is in just a second, but I would recommend early September for a reactivation campaign, depending on what type of service that you do. All right, so the second step in this reactivation strategy is going to be creating your offer and your messaging for these clients. So just to be clear, the reactivation campaign is only going to be going to people who have received an estimate but did not move forward with you on your services. This offer is not going to be public, so we're not going to be running ads with this offer, and we're not going to be publicly posting it on social media or anything like that. This is going to be going directly to the people who have already received an estimate, but for whatever reason haven't moved forward. So in that case, the messaging and the offer is going to be very much tailored around that specific context, if that makes sense. The offer that I like to do and the type of messaging is typically something like this. Hey, we're offering a flash sale for every single person who received an estimate from us, but did not move forward. If you move forward this week, we are honoring a 10% off discount off of your proposal. So if you are offering a fast action discount, which a lot of our clients do, where they do a same day estimate, and if the client moves forward that same day, they will receive a small discount like 5 or 10% off. What you can do is in your messaging on the flash sale, you can say, hey, we'll actually honor that same day discount that we presented to you a while ago. Or you could just say 10% off and just keep it simple. But basically the message and the offer that I find works really well is you are going to give them a very strong deadline at the end of the week. And you're going to say this week only, ending on this day. And you're going to say, we're offering a flash sale and we're going to be giving 10% off any existing proposal that you've received from us. All you have to do is just reply back with deal or sale or something like that. And the call to action, you want to say reply back. And so that is the message and offer that we find works really well. You could do other offers. It doesn't have to be a discount, but I find the discount works well because it's like a discount on their existing proposal, which does move people over the fence. So you are going to see a higher conversion on that. If you have, let's say, something that you could throw in for free that you know a lot of clients will be really interested in. So you could say, hey, if you move forward, we're going to throw in a free grub control treatment if you do lawn care, or we're going to throw in this extended warranty or something if you're doing like hardscaping or something like that. You could do that too. I personally find the discount just a really simple and easy way to make people move forward. So I would recommend the discount. We do 5 or 10% on that. So that is going to be the messaging and the offer that I would recommend. The third step in this strategy is going to be using multiple different media channels to actually reach your clients, right? So like I said, this is not going to be something that we want to publicly share. So we're not running like Facebook ads or social media ads that are like saying this discount. But what we want to do is we want to reach back out to the clients through our CRM. And that's why I was saying, like, I'm assuming you're using a CRM. So the different ways that we're going to be contacting them, number one is going to be email. You're going to need some kind of email marketing system. Most CRMs are going to have this. Go High Level has this. Jobbers should have something like this as well. If you don't have an email marketing system, or for whatever reason your CRM doesn't, then you can use something like MailChimp to do this. There's a lot of email marketing softwares, but you are going to need some kind of email marketing software to be able to send out an email that says the type of messaging that I was saying. Flash sale ending on this day in 1 week, and you're going to get 10% off when you reply the word sale, right? And so email is a great way to be able to reach people fairly easily. The other media channel that I'm going to recommend is going to be SMS. So texting. Sending out a mass text blast is extremely effective. I personally find the open rate on texting is going to be much, much higher than email. However, more people are going to opt out when you text them like that. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. However, I would definitely recommend using SMS, and the messaging is the exact same as like in the email. So flash sale, ending on this day, you're getting this offer, and you could sign off with your name, after you tell them the call to action, which is to reply with sale or something like that. So mass texting works really well. You should be getting emails and phone numbers anyway in your CRM for these leads. For the mass texting with all of our clients, we use Go High Level to do that. However, like I said, there are other services that can provide that, but it is going to be very important to do the texting for sure. So far, we've said email, text. The last type of media channel that I'd recommend is to either do a voice drop, or you could use flyers. I would personally recommend to do a voice drop. It's going to be simpler and easier for you. So for a voice drop, I would recommend to use something like Drop Cowboy, which is a software that allows you to leave a ringless voicemail. So what this is you can record your voice actually saying, hey, for this week only, we're offering a flash sale. You're going to get 10% off if you move forward on your proposal. And so all you have to do is just text back to this number, sale or whatever, and we'll get in contact with you. So it's a ringless voicemail. So it's going to be a voicemail that will go to their phone without actually calling them. And this is going to definitely be a great addition to the email and the SMS as well. So those are the media channels that I would recommend. And those are going to be very, very effective for reaching people who are already in your pipeline, right? The fourth part of this strategy is going to be the messaging cadence of actually disseminating this message to these people, right? So what I would recommend is you're going to send about 3 to 4 texts and emails throughout that week, right? So on the first day, you're going to send out a text and an email, and you're also going to send out that voice drop on that first day of the week. And now what this is going to do is you're going to cover all your bases, right? So if they don't see the email, they'll see the text. If they don't see the text, they'll see the email, or they'll get the voice drop, or they'll just get hit with all 3. And then you're definitely going to really get their attention, right? So on the first day, you want to use all 3 or all of your channels, whatever you're using, on that first day. Then what you want to do, like I said, is you want to hit them with some reminders throughout the week. I would recommend that you do about 3 to 4 texts and emails within that week. So maybe, on the Wednesday, so let's say you drop it on Monday, and then on the Wednesday, you send another text and an email, and you say, reminder ends on this day at this time, get 10% off, reply back. So you're just saying the same thing, but you're just sending a different reminder, right? And then maybe on the Friday, you could send another text and an email. And then on the last day, maybe it's a Saturday or something at 5 p.m., you can send the very last text and email that says, final notice, ending tonight at 5 p.m., reply back. The reason that you want to send multiple different texts and emails throughout the week and not just one is that don't underestimate how busy people are and how sometimes people will see it and they'll be like, oh, that's interesting, but they're not ready to actually act on it. And then by hitting them with the additional messaging and reminders, they will be moved more and more into taking action. So I would definitely recommend no less than 3 reminders for the week amongst texting and email. Any less than that, and you are risking to not extract the most amount of results from this campaign. So you definitely want to be in their face and you want to remind them. A lot of people are going to see this and be like, oh, that's interesting. I'd be interested in that. But just in the moment, they're not ready to take action. So doing the reminders, especially the very last reminder, and using the word final notice in that text or email and saying it ends tonight, reply back with the word sale if you want to take advantage of this. Super, super important. Just trust me on this. Some people get concerned that they're going to be spamming people and people are going to get annoyed. You will get a very small percentage of people who are annoyed by this, but the rest of the people are going to get it, and the amount of upside that you will receive will be far greater than the downside. And then the 5th part of this strategy here is actually capitalizing on the opportunities for sales, right? So there's no point in generating all of these reactivated leads if for that week you are overwhelmed in the operations of your business, or you're not prepared, or you're just not calling the leads back quickly. So when someone replies back with that keyword, sale or deal or whatever keyword you choose for the call to action, you want to be on them very quickly. So as soon as they reply back, you want to call them up or you want to text back to them and say, hey, let's get you onboarded. Let's move forward here. So you want to be very on top of these leads because like I said, speed to lead is super important, and you want to make sure that you're capitalizing on that split moment that they think, okay, I think I'm going to get a good deal on this. Let's move forward. Let's jump right into things here. I want to respect your time and I want to show you how we got such awesome results for this client. So first things first, this client is a landscaper. This client does pretty much general landscaping, I would say. Oh, sorry, I have my other marker here. Pretty much general landscaping, right? So that was kind of the niche that we focused on, was general landscaping. It's really important that, anytime that you're doing any kind of advertising campaign, you need to pick some kind of niche to really focus in on, right? a lot of contractors, they try to do advertising and get results, but they're going way too wide with the type of services that they're marketing, right? So what we did for this client is we focused the niche in on softscaping, kind of like gardening, I call it pretty much. And then also it was irrigation, like custom irrigation services, right? So it's really important that you have some kind of niche in your business that you're focused on, at least on the advertising campaign perspective side of things, right? So that's what we focused on for him, was like softscaping, gardening, right? Like mulching, plant material, that kind of stuff. And so that was the niche that we picked to really focus on for this campaign before we did anything else. And then the second thing that we did, I'm just going to erase this to make some more room for myself. The second thing is that we created an offer for him that was designed to convey more value than what his competitors were offering. And I'll tell you like an interesting thing about this offer that we experienced actually. So the offer that we came up with was actually a free 3D rendering. Free 3D rendering, right? So that was the offer that we provided in the ad. Now, the interesting part about this offer is that this offer, not a lot of other landscaping companies are offering it like with the service that we're providing. But the other cool aspect of it is that this offer actually increases the value of the actual job, because people will come in and say, oh, like cool, free 3D rendering with my landscaping project. And by the time that they get that 3D rendering, actually what our client was saying was that the job size, it will actually push the value of the job size up. So it was something that people were impressed by, which got them to reach out for the quote. But by the time that they actually went through the process, the 3D rendering, because they can visualize it more, it actually increased the value of the overall project as well, which is really, really neat. So that was the offer that we did for the campaign. Something that, you know, I think was like super successful, just so you have a sense of the type of offer that we did for it. Anytime you're doing an advertising campaign, I always recommend having some kind of unique offer that you can play off of. Too many contractors are doing stuff like, you know, 15% off discounts or whatever, that kind of thing. And it's just every other contractor is doing that. So if you can start trying to communicate some other offers that are a little bit different and more interesting in your marketing, you're going to attract a higher quality type of clientele, right? So that's what we did for the offer. Now, what I said was that we did focus exclusively on Facebook ads, right? So Facebook ads. Something that you need to know about Facebook ads right now is that it's less about like the exact targeting and everything that you're doing, like, oh, like has an interest in landscaping and blah, 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 and going super targeted in the targeting there of like interests. It's a lot more now about like creatives and what the image of the ad is, what the copy is. So for this particular campaign, we actually went really broad on the targeting. So I'm talking like literally the targeting was the location and then plus like age, you know, so age was like, I don't know, it was like age 20. You'll see in the report, like I said, if you comment, if you DM me 370K on Facebook, I'll send you the report and you'll see the exact age and everything. But it was around like age 20 to 65. So pretty broad age, women and men in the location. And that's pretty much the extent of like what we did in terms of the actual targeting. But for the actual ad itself, we experimented a lot. We did pictures and videos, before and after pictures, all sorts of different ads. And what we found for this particular campaign, the best performing ad so far, 4 months in, has just been a picture of like the beautiful landscaping. We had other ads that worked really well. Like if you follow some of the stuff that I teach, I'm always talking about the importance of doing like, you know, videos and stuff like that. But in this particular case, just a picture of the beautiful landscaped front yard that was the highest performing ad, like creative picture. And then we had like this, we experimented with different copy, like messaging, but that was the winning picture. Was just like a very beautiful picture of the landscape, So, a lot of contractors, when they're creating ads, they end up making ads that just look like ads. So what I mean by that is that they will Photoshop like really fancy looking graphics, with like some kind of discount offer or something like that on a picture, and it just ends up not being a great ad because people know that it's an ad, right? So sometimes it works in your favor if you just have a picture taken off your iPhone and it's just a very genuine looking picture of a beautiful front yard, right? So let's talk a little bit about the type of results that this client got. I'll break that down too. So like I said, Facebook ads, 370K sales in 4 months. He was getting $40 leads on Facebook respectively. So $40 leads. We were spending $2,000 a month in ad spend, and he got 165 leads in that time. So 165 leads, 4 months, $40 leads, spending $2,000 a month, 370K in 4 months. Not too shabby, I would definitely say.
So basically what we did for this campaign are men and women who are age 25 plus, live in the selected area, like the geographical area that this client wanted to focus on, and that's pretty much it. So what I recommend for a Facebook ads campaign for the market is going to be around $1 million plus. You could get away with like 500,000 or so, but I typically recommend around that range of people. So the market that we chose for this campaign was actually pretty broad. A lot of people will try and do a lot of interest targeting and go super specific on Facebook ads. And right now, what's working really well is just to do a fairly broad market. So if you're running Facebook ads, experiment with keeping it broad, and you're gonna see, and we'll talk about these two other things here that made the difference, you're gonna see it's actually gonna help your results a lot more. Now there is a little bit of a caveat to this, is that you could do something called a lookalike audience, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But this first thing here, the market, we actually went very broad with the targeting on Facebook ads. So that's number one. So number two is the message, right? So the message that we did for this campaign. So this is arguably the most important part of any successful Facebook ads campaign. So the message that we chose for this campaign, obviously he's a landscaper. Over time, this message changed. In the beginning of the season of when we were starting this, it was kind of more of like general spring cleanups and just general landscaping jobs, right? And then now, at the time of recording this video, we're kind of going into fall. And so the messaging that we're choosing to do now are aeration ads for just simple aeration jobs on someone's lawn, right? And so the message is really important because what a lot of landscapers will do is they go super broad with their message and just say, hey, we can do this, we could do that, we can do all that. But if you want to be really successful on Facebook ads specifically, then the messaging needs to be very, very specific. So the niche that we're choosing to go after right now is aeration, and it's pretty much that exclusively. And then the next thing that you need to understand when it comes to the message is not only do you need to have a niche, but you also need to have an attractive offer. So the offer that most people do is going to be something like a discount offer. Hey, we only have 10 spots available and we're offering 10% off, that type of thing. You'll see that a lot with Facebook ads. What I find is doing any kind of discount offer, like 10 or 15% off or whatever, it does a couple things that I would not recommend. So the first thing is that you're attracting the wrong type of people in the ad. You're attracting people who are just like looking for a discount. And in my opinion, the bigger the discount, kind of the more of these type of price shoppers you're going to attract. The other thing is that now you're kind of just branding your business as being like a discount type company. So unless you're actually a cheap company and you can offer like really affordable prices, you should not be doing that. This particular client charges much more than the average person. So we're not going to go down that road. So instead, what we did is what we focused on for a marketing angle is speed. So he was doing a same-day estimate offer on that, giving them a rough same-day estimate. The other thing that we focused in on for the offer is including a free mowing service, one free mowing service with every aeration job that he does. This is something that's like super easy for him to include. And to some people, this is like a lot of extra value, which is going to make them want to actually reach out and get an estimate, right? And so that was kind of what we did for the messaging there. Super effective. That was able to help this campaign big time. So I said that the messaging was important, but here's the third thing when it came to this Facebook ads campaign that was really like the game changer, right? And that is the media that we chose. So like I said, this campaign was exclusively Facebook ads, right? That's the platform that we chose to use. But going deeper than that, the media that we chose to use, as in like the actual creatives or the images or videos that we actually chose to use for these ads, is super important. Most landscapers, when they're doing any kind of like advertisement on Facebook, they'll do like some kind of stock photo and just like edit up some graphics. And I'm here to tell you that that's not working anymore on Facebook. If you're expecting to just go on, something like Canva or just Photoshop like a really simple photo, like a Photoshopped stock image that just has like some 10% off discount or something, you're going to get leads, but it's not going to work very well. If you want to get great results on Facebook, I'll tell you what's working really, really well in terms of media. So what's working really well right now are before and after pictures, action shots, and videos from your phone. I call them selfie videos, or like these little social media videos that are like, caption type videos. These are what's working really, really well right now. And the ads that are working really well right now for this client, for the aeration, I'll show it right here. This one is just like a really simple picture of the actual work. It's not even a before and after picture, but it is an original image that the client was able to get us of the work that he did. And then we just added on like some of the details on it, like in Photoshop. So it's not a stock image. We're using original images, and it does grab people's attention. So that one was the most effective like still image. And then here's the video that we actually included, which you can see is just a really simple video of just someone on the aeration machine just doing the actual thing, and then we've got like kind of like a funny title in there. So these were the highest performing media that we chose to use on Facebook, and by far was like outperforming anything else that a lot of people would be doing on like stock images or anything like that. So that is what I would recommend. I'll tell you like some of the content that we're going to be doing going forward to make it even better, but this was the content that we were able to get from the client that was performing the best, right? So those are the three things that we did for this campaign that really made it successful. And now I just want to break down to you all of the stats for the campaign so that you can get a better idea of like the performance from a whole, right? So like I said, 192 leads in 5 months. It's actually more leads than that. Those are 192 form submissions on Facebook, but that's not including phone calls. So phone calls can be a little bit harder to track, especially in this case because we wanted them to be able to text the client and like use his actual phone number. And he was able to close $75,000 in cash collected from that. Now, each one of these jobs is about an average of like around $900. And the reason for that is because in the stats there, we actually have tracked 73 jobs closed. So that kind of shows you that the average job was around like, $900, $1,000. Like it's pretty much the same, the amount of jobs that we closed to like the amount of cash collected, right? So out of 192 leads, 73 jobs closed, not too shabby. We were coming in for our cost per lead at around $49. Now again, something to remember with this though, is that $49 is for form submissions on Facebook, not including phone calls. He did get more leads than that, but we're just gonna count like the form submissions because that's like the easiest thing to track, right? So we're coming in at $49 a lead, which is pretty good. Anywhere between like, I would say $30 to like 50 to 60. 60 is getting high, but I would say $30 to $50 for a cost per lead on Facebook right now. That's like good. That's like the average. We have some campaigns where it's like, we're getting like $5 leads, $6 leads. But for this particular niche, fairly competitive. And so, we would consider that like a good performance. It's scalable, right? Here's some more stats for you that I'm going to look at here. So we have and then the last one here, the last stat is we had the 42,000 of outstanding quotes, right? So we still have lots of potential to be able to get this much higher because he already has like a lot of quotes in his pipeline. So these are all pending. And then obviously we're continuing the campaign going forward. So that this number is going to be even higher. So these are going to be in follow-up and definitely being worked on to be able to be fully closed, right? So those are some of the stats of like behind the scenes for this campaign. And now I'm going to break down just some of the things that we're going to be doing going forward that are going to make this campaign work even better. So number one, the first thing would just be like the ad creatives. So what this is like what I was talking to you about of like before and after pictures, action shots, and selfie videos. By far, what we're finding that works the best right now are these selfie videos of where you just take your phone and just like introduce yourself, under a minute long. We edit them up and we use like really cool captions and stuff. And they're working really well because they're super engaging and people love to see like who's behind the scenes of this business. So we actually asked the client, we wrote up the scripts for him, and we gave him everything that he needs to be able to get these types of videos to us. And what we're going to be doing, because right now at the time of filming this video, we're going to fall, we're going to be focusing really heavy on the fall cleanups, and we're going to basically go all in on the videos because we're just finding that the videos are holding the cost per lead longer and they're just attracting a better type of clientele. So we're going to go all in on the videos and we're going to get the client to really focus in on that. That's mostly what the type of changes that we're going to be making going into the fall. And the other thing is obviously with the fall cleanups, we're going to have to shift the offer that we're doing as well. Like the same day mow is probably not going to be as relevant. So we are probably going to shift into like the same day estimate more, maybe even throw in like some kind of like little gutter thing, like cleaning the gutters or something like that with the fall cleanup. That's still kind of pending that we need to figure out. But definitely going forward, we're going to focus in on the videos because we're seeing that those are working much, much better.
Let's talk first about this situation that this company was in when they first came to us. This business owner, it's actually two business owners who own the company together. And basically they were a referral that came from another tree company. And they came into our business, and essentially where they were at with their business at the time was that they had no marketing really. They were a brand new company. So they were just starting out. Basically the entire business was just based off of referrals, right? They had no website. They had no real online presence or anything really going. So basically the business was essentially through just existing contacts. And like I said, they were doing around 15K a month in revenue in sales. And so basically this business was essentially starting from scratch. They didn't really have a whole ton of contacts. They didn't have any like marketing assets or anything that was really like bringing in business when we start. It's typically a lot easier to turn on a marketing campaign and get huge results if you're starting from already a successful place. Whereas this business was essentially a brand new clean slate. So this is really valuable for you if you're a brand new tree service or landscaping business, because you're going to see exactly what it would take to take a campaign from scratch and really scale it up from there. So that's the kind of the situation that they were in. One of the owners was more of the operational guy, so actually handling a lot of the work and like managing the team. And then the other guy was more so like a business development guy who was working one-on-one with us in terms of the marketing and the sales side of things. Let's just to set the tone of like the preface of like where this business was at when they came in with us. They knew they needed to do marketing, which is why they came to us, and they were looking for something that would be like a very robust system so that they could scale, because they started the business with the intention of scaling it up to about 7 figures within their first year. So let's talk a little bit about the strategy that we implemented for this business. First things first, like I said, they have no real online reputation. So we needed to build up a reputation for this business so that when people are coming across the business, they're not like freaked out or don't trust the company, right? Now at this stage, a lot of agencies, what they would say is they'd be like, oh, you need a brand new website, spend $5,000 to $10,000 on this site, and let's set you up with all of this stuff right up the front. And this particular client, he asked me, he said, do I think I should get like a really nice website up front? And what do I need to spend money on? And what do I not need to? What I typically recommend, if it's like starting from scratch or brand new business, and you have zero, nothing, I would say to invest in advertising first before spending a whole boatload of money on a website. So in this case, we basically just set up a really simple landing page for this client. So one page site that's very basic, that basically will get the job done in the meantime. So then we'll talk about the results and all that. Once you get profits that come in from an ad campaign, then you can reinvest it into more of a long-term strategy like a website and such. Right off the bat, basically what we did first was we just got like the foundations in place. So setting up like a Facebook page, like I said, setting up the landing page so that they have something online there, getting a logo done that just looks decent. But what was really important was getting the reputation up to snuff. And so basically what we provide for all of our clients are just these really simple little Google review cards. And essentially what they do, they're really neat. You can just tap them onto a client's phone and it will pop open so that they can leave a review on the company Google business profile, right? And so this was one of the key ways that we really built up their online reviews before launching the campaign, so that if someone came across the ad campaign and they Googled the name of the business, they would be able to find lots of great reviews and a good online reputation about this company. So those were some of the first things that we did in terms of the online reputation. Next, what we did is we really focused in on the service that we wanted to go after for this campaign. And we built a unique offer based around that. Because they're a tree service company, oftentimes for a tree service company, the most profitable jobs to get that are going to be the biggest, most high-end kind of jobs would be tree removals. And so that was the primary focus that we had, was tree removals, and then also a little bit of tree trimming and pruning on the side. And so I would definitely say there was about 70% removals, 30% trimming. So just to give you an idea there of the split that we did for the services to really go after. And then we created the messaging and the offer all based around this campaign, right? And so typically what I like to do anytime that we are running a marketing campaign for a client is we want to come up with an offer that's going to attract the right type of client into the business, also help you stand out, because there's a lot of tree service businesses out there and they're all running similar offers. So it's really important to basically put an offer out there that's going to position you as being a higher end contractor, but also just attract the right type of people into the business. And so essentially what we did for the offer was, number one, we offered same day estimates. So a bit of a speed offer there, right? So not a lot of contractors have the systems in place to be able to offer a same day estimate. So that was a bit of an advantage for this business and they executed it really well. And the other offer that we did was a free stump grinding included with the tree removal. That was the offer that we chose to do. And what's funny is like, sometimes you're so in the weeds with things that this particular client was like, free stump grinding. I don't know if that's like we would do that anyway, or we wouldn't do that, or blah, blah, blah. And so I think just getting creative sometimes with your offers, because no other tree service business is thinking like that. So us coming in as their marketers and being, how can we add value to this? I think that was like a really great offer and people responded to it really well, rather than doing like a 10% off discount or some of these things that's going to attract a whole bunch of price shoppers and people who also are seeing similar ads from other tree businesses running probably discount offers. Instead, we're going to take that discount and just add value instead. So offering the free stump removal. We also experimented with free wood removal, or like wood disposal, sorry, is what we called it. So after you're done cutting the tree down, we'll take the wood away. So these are some things to just position you as being a little bit more of like a turnkey, higher end business. And so that was the offer that we did for this particular campaign. Next up was the media that we chose to actually take this offer and put it in front of the right people and basically start generating leads was Facebook ads and Google local service ads. So on the Facebook ads side, something that's really important to be able to do a campaign like that is to have the right content, right? And so our success team coached the client on what type of content to get, what it should say, and what it should look like. So typically, the type of content that we're looking for in our business right now are going to be videos just on your phone, essentially an elevator pitch of the business owner, just talking a little bit about who they are and essentially what the service is that they provide. So this particular client was a little bit nervous to go on video, but he actually did a very good job. And our success team basically coached him through what those videos should look like, what to say on the videos. So we wrote the scripts for him and essentially just gave him the blueprint to making these great social media videos. And then they sent those videos back to us and we edit them all up. And now he has a series of different videos that all speak to the pain points of the particular homeowner who's looking to get a tree removed. So that was the kind of the first thing that we did for the Facebook ads, is get all the content in place. And then for the local service ads, there's a little bit of like groundwork that you need to set up to get local service ads up and going. So we needed to do a background check and also submit the insurance for the business for local service ads. And that process took maybe about 14 days or so. And so once that was all good to go, then essentially both Facebook and local service ads were all set up, approved, and ready to rock. And so that was basically the strategy that we implemented for getting the content and getting the leads to be able to reach out to people, right? Because Facebook is going to be a very great platform for putting those videos in front of the right people that we want to reach, whether it's based off of their geolocation or whether it's based off of like their interests and some of the behaviors they've shown online. Whereas Google local service ads is that we want to catch people who are just like Googling for the service to get done right now. So typically the local service ads are going to be a lot hotter of a lead compared to Facebook. But if you stick to the end of this video, you're going to see that the results were actually interesting and how that all played out. So those were the medias that we chose. And across the board between Facebook and local service ads, we spent $3,000 per month on ad spend, just to give you an idea of what we were investing over the course of this 4 months into a campaign like this. So let's talk a little bit about the results, right? So 4 months in, here's basically what we're looking at for the results. We actually did a call with this client to verify all of this about a week ago. So I've got it all here for you. So in about 4 months, we've spent just under $12,000. The reason for that was that Google local service ads wasn't able to spend the full amount. So there just weren't enough people who were actually searching for the actual service through Google. So that's why it's a little bit less than 12,000 or whatever we were expecting. And during that 4-month stint, we were able to generate 225 Facebook leads at around $43 per lead. So typically we look for leads on Facebook to be about $30 to $50. So it's right within the benchmark of what we're looking for. So that's awesome. Definitely a lot of great leads there that we generated too. And then we generated 43 Google leads for $30.86. So actually cheaper than the Facebook leads. So typically you don't see that. Google local service ads would be a little bit more expensive, but in this case, they were actually cheaper than Facebook. However, most of the jobs actually came from Facebook ads. We were able to close 57 jobs from that spend. And I would say about 90% of those jobs were actually from Facebook, interestingly enough. So that's a neat little stat there. And so the total amount sold in the 4 months was just over $130,000. So we did $130,000 and $130,900. So definitely really good performance there in terms of top line sales. And something that was pretty neat is that we still have around $40,000 outstanding in quotes. And so there's definitely a lot of opportunity to still capitalize and close some of those jobs as well to bump up the overall return from a campaign like this. And lastly, something that's really exciting is that we were actually able to scale this business from where they started at $15K a month all the way up to $80K per month now that they're doing. So it actually puts them basically at a 7-figure run rate from start 4 months ago to now. They're at a 7-figure run rate, which is super exciting.